That being after 7 p.m., let's call the planning board meeting on November 20th, 2024 to order. And John's here just in time, John.
Right in there.
Standing out in the hallway waiting.
That's right.
First item on the agenda is public hearing continued for GM Properties LLC, the village's multifamily units, 35 North Main Street. Application is requested to be continued to 12/4.
Yeah, I guess from what I understand, the discrepancy between the town wetland scientists and the applicant wetland scientists, and where the wetlands are for the current. They gotta iron that out before they come before
There
us.
can't be much wetlands there right now. I would imagine it's probably pretty dry.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. Oh,
I
okay.
mean, so far they gave us till February, so hopefully they get it ironed out before then, so.
Okay. Well, I mean, even saying that, we haven't really looked at anything on the application yet, and now we're in the beginning of December, so February, I'd like to push it
Yeah,
off
it's not
until
that
at least
far
the end of
away.
March. If they're not gonna give us, either that or we can just, roll on it and shut it down with insufficient
Right.
information, but I mean, it's been going on
Yeah.
since a while,
It's
so,
been
okay.
continued.
Motion to continue to 12/4, December 4th.
Make a motion to continue the application until. The village's multifamily at 35 North Main Street until December 4th, 2024.
Motion, we have a second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Now it's after 7:05, so discussion, Ponican Hill Estates subdivision. What is going on there? Is there somebody take that over or?
We have a prospective, applicant, as you know, that it's been an ongoing debacle that we trying to iron out. We have a gentleman that is willing to take it on, but it's gonna require some of the planning board to consider his changes and everything, but it's would be a benefit for both the applicant and the town, and encourage him to give it an overview so the planning board has a taste of what the applicant is proposing.
So, yes, Kurt Meskis, building inspector, zoning enforcement. This is Mr. Vinny Inello, close enough. Who is approached the owner of the property and has done some design work. We have worked with Mr. Inello for a number of months and said, get us a conceptual plan so that we can put it informally before the board here. There's no action, a full submittal is gonna have to be done. But the best minds that we have come up with is High Crest Road, which starts over here on Hammond Hill Road, was designed in this Ponican Hill to come through here and be connected.
Mhm.
It is, as far as we can tell, financially impossible to do that. In recent discussion we had with the proponent, it seems that the original designer of this project didn't really comprehend the topography. That's very evident over here on Vista Lane, where we come in and we look at a 30-foot embankment, and there was gonna be a huge cut and a huge retaining wall there. This property's changed hands many times. Bank had it, bank gave it back, somebody else bought it, somebody bought it, and they bought a road, which is the big nut. The road has had base coat on it twice, I believe, is not in great shape right now. Citizens are paying taxes there. Highway department can't plow this road because of the manholes and everything. So we had talked to several people about this property and said, well, maybe if you proposed a cul-de-sac, which is well longer than the allowable in the bylaw, and you could cluster some housing here, and deal with the fact that this is a flexible subdivision, so a certain amount of open space is supposed to be given to the town. that maybe we could come to some sort of agreement. Like I said before, they're gonna have to do a formal presentation. It's gonna have to be a new submittal for a subdivision, and it's gonna have to require some waivers. I understand that Mike Andre was just talking to the applicant. There was some drainage calculations and ideas brought forth. There seem to be changing, but his engineer seems to be there. So we're gonna end up in the proposal. This part of High Crest is ended here for quite a while in a sort of cul-de-sac. So proposal of some houses here. The road currently sort of ends here with the cul-de-sac. And this is the sort of questionable portion of the construction, and then this would be new construction. And the green areas represent a different owner. Not involved in this project, but you can see in the outlines back here that the proposed area of work before was a little bit bigger, so the town may end up with some additional open space. So, you know, we said we would present this to you. I know that you guys are aware of this project, you know, of this problem, ongoing problem for years. You know, the bonding issue, the bank held the bond, the bank walked, I don't blame them. You know, and you know, really not very unsuspecting person bought all of this property, and we said, oh, by the way, you bought a road. And he went, oh. Right, and a number of people have come to me and say, well, I want to build one house up there, and he says, I can't do it.
Road.
There's a covenant on the property, right? Standard subdivision rules. There's a covenant that says nothing will be built until you release the covenant. And without a finished road, it doesn't seem prudent for the town of Charlton to release covenants. So that's where we are. And I don't know if Mr. Uliano wants to say anything, but that's what this whole thing is about, just to give you a flavor of this is coming. If you have strong objections to it before the gentleman spends, you know, money on further development, we said this would be a good idea to get to the board. This is, you know, just an advisory, nod your head thing, you know, not a formal hearing, no action.
The biggest thing in this particular case is the planning board would have to consider a cul-de-sac longer than 500 feet, which they can grant a waiver for that. I mean, the biggest issue we have there is that, you know, we'll have to make sure the fire department's on board. So they have, you know, adequate turning around.
It's standard width of the road, or is it gonna be a little bit wider just in case there's?
Yeah, well, they had requested to be narrower back
Well,
with the original.
Right, so this is a flexible subdivision. It has a narrower road width under the flexible subdivision road rules that could continue. Certainly the design here of the cul-de-sac, and actually before, an individual developer, same guy, but an individual developer who bought these lots, we worked with that gentleman to get a cul-de-sac here that was appropriate because we had
There
nothing,
was nothing there, I do remember that.
so. You know, I'm sure, you know, if you have anything to say, if the board wants to entertain the applicant, you know, the potential applicant here. But before we, you know, go any further, staff believes this is a good solution.
Good.
The $25 word that I learned a long time ago is amelioration, which is make it as best as you can. Is it
Sure.
ideal? No.
Sure.
Is it to the standard? Well, it will be built to the standard, but we're gonna extend some courtesies here.
Mhm.
The one issue that's gonna come up is, and we've talked about it as staff, is we're gonna have to pick another road name here. And we're gonna have to deal with those citizens and say, look, we're gonna have to change the name of your road for public safety because fire certainly isn't on board with east and west. It just adds confusion to an already confusing situation.
Mhm.
So.
And the developer's also aware that he has to finish the road so they can be accepted by the town, because that's a big sticking point right now. It's got a base coat on, it's got manholes all over the place. It's almost impossible to plow.
So it's not a great situation for the residents of that road. that's for
Right, and now there's people living in all those houses over there, so.
So, Mr. Commissioner, so those are the existing houses right now, they go to where that left, yeah, that's the last one.
That's the last house.
So we get like 11 new lots or something on that. Correct. That's the plan, and this was just sketched up recently, these are new, the newest design.
We've seen some additional data on grading and stormwater management, but that's changing, that's evolving a little bit right now based on the site and
Yeah.
and what is more economical, and I know the two here were consulting a little bit
Yeah.
about it. There's a potential for a retention basin here. Of course, this is another property owner, so we have an identification for him, but we don't, it's a management company,
Right.
so that would be a private deal between this developer and the owner of that property. That property is not buildable. It was supposed to be a piece of open space, I believe, but there's more than enough open
Yeah.
space over here to meet the requirement.
Yeah, okay. Good. Well, thanks for kicking some life into this one.
Vinny Aiello, I'm with Arbor Development out of Northern Massachusetts, and Kurt, I think, explained it, pretty much right to the T. We are giving back to the town, I believe, 16+ acres of open space, so it's a lot greater. We are still, fine tuning a lot of the details, especially with the drainage. Like Kurt has set up, we'd like to try to get it up in this area if we maybe can acquire that piece of property instead of doing a cross-country drain going all the way down and tying up those cul-de-sacs, which I think would be more beneficial, maintenance-wise, for you guys. And we're scratching the surface right now, but I just basically want to come up, introduce myself, and I thank both gentlemen. They've been working diligently, and also Michael. We had a great meeting out there on the existing road that needs a little bit of TLC, and especially, the curbing that we saw and some of the sidewalk work, and so we'll try to tie it into our package. I'm ambitious. I know the owners are very eager to just get something going up here, so
Any other questions from the board?
How many lots are you talking about?
11 total.
And that's no more than what was on the original subdivision proposal. There are lots here that are inaccessible because there's no roadway. There's, you can see the outline of the lots, the original proposal on the background.
Is there drainage there, Mike, already for that proposed, or do you have a historic record or anything that you worked on previously for drainage on that?
Whereabouts on the existing?
Yeah, on the yellow.
Oh,
area where
there is
the
drainage,
level
yeah,
line.
so
There's
that
drainage.
road that's divider has been like Kurt said, divided
He has
twice.
spoken about
It's-
trying to get land behind there. I guess you were talking about getting land there, purchasing land for maybe.
Correct.
Easement. and
I know
such.
I know the storm drain there also, correct.
Do you have that land, and have you bought that land?
We have not, no.
Okay.
But we do have a design showing the storm drainage going down to the other cul-de-sac
Okay, without acquiring that.
without acquiring that. It is, cross-country, it's quite a,
Yeah.
there's a lot there. And it would also, maintenance-wise for the town would be, I think it would work a lot more feasible if we could get it and acquire that piece of property up here and
Anybody else? I mean, I don't know if we need to vote on it or just kind of get a nod or yes. I mean, I know that development's been a problem for a while. And there's people that are living there that are putting up with substandard roads and whatnot. So this might be something that, the whole neighborhood like. The road's a little bit longer than 500 feet, so it's a fire department issue. It's a safety issue, really. There's no
And I've-
second egress from that road.
I talked briefly with Captain Carlson, who's our community risk reduction. He understands what's going on. There is a cistern in here, as I recall. There's a cistern standard that, gives us some dimensions. We've spoken to the developer that maybe another cistern might have to be, or there are alternate provisions that we could present to the planning board if the developer decides to go through. We have a project in town that had a cistern designed, and then the developer says, well, what happens if I put residential sprinklers in all the units? And that's, you know, it's a cost, it's a great benefit from a fire protection standpoint because it's an active system.
Yep.
Whereas a cistern is a manual, we're doing something system, you know, having to arrive and do that. So we think, you know, the fire service is gone from cisterns to more actively pursuing residential sprinkler systems because they affect the fire immediately.
And we are looking into that also.
Yeah, great idea. I like it.
Can I just add one more thing? I brought this up when we had our site meeting, just for the board to consider. We discussed Henry's Vista Lane, the condition of that right now. There was some drainage that was put in there years ago to address that constant issue coming in and, just the board and the town have to be comfortable with what condition that's left and whether it stays like it is now or something more is done there to formalize that as a turnaround or to deal with that drainage in maybe a better way. I asked that be considered as part of this application that comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. I do remember a little bit. There was a water issue and I think we just opened it up into additional drainage into the woods or something or.
I think there was, as I recall that property, there was some overland drainage there
Yep.
that got put in underground, and that was done by the gentleman who developed these houses
And
over
it was
here.
affecting a couple of houses, at least one house with excess water and.
Yes.
But the Henry Vista Lane has only really one house on it.
Good.
It's a very short, I don't know that, you know, not being a member of the fire department, not speaking for the fire department, but we have driveways that are much longer than that.
Do we have a solution for that? I mean, was there a? The current solution is not adequate?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, there was sort of a berm design with an inlet and a pipe that goes underground that ties into the catch basin at the end of Henry Vista Lane. So I think that's been operating fine as far as I know. I haven't heard any issues. I haven't been asked to go back since that was installed years ago. But, you know, if that piece of land is, I'm not sure if that's part of the open space that's proposed or what that's going to be. The town is going to own and maintain that. We want to make sure that's in a state that the town would want to accept that and maintain it. I'm not suggesting improvements need to be made there, but if the fire department ultimately is okay with the length of that roadway and don't require more than a turnaround, then maybe nothing needs to be done there, but.
Is that part of the property that's owned by this gentleman here
Well, the
or?
green ones are not.
No, the green ones are owned
Yeah.
by GA Property Management.
I believe that the pipe goes underground to the town, you know.
This has been accepted long ago. This was accepted by the town of Trump.
Okay.
To this point here. And the bank developed this. And did their base code, did their development, did their final code. And the town accepted it as a way, even while houses were being constructed.
Good.
But that's, I mean, it's allowed, it's working on a regular road. It comes with the hazard for a single developer or the extra paying for the highway department to monitor the road that's brand new that doesn't get chewed up. And I think, this is a big thing, is that we probably accepted this little stub here.
A piece of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the property owner on the corner there was an icing problem because it was, you know, flowing out onto the road, so that was the solution to solve the icing problem.
Oh, okay.
So that yellow area, you're gonna assume all the responsibilities for that area only, and everything else around it has been tied to approvals previously. Correct.
And then this would be.
Is that right, Randy? I mean, is
Yes.
that, can that yellow area stand alone right now?
It does.
I'm asking Randy.
I'm sorry,
Because that yellow area has no influence on any of the other budding properties that have not.
the orange part or the one,
orange,
yeah,
the orange part.
the orange
The
part
11,
is,
the 11 lots in question.
yeah, that's part of what the prospective purchaser would be purchased, the actual road with the base coat on it right now, so.
So there's no entanglements, that's what I'm saying, there's no entanglements with the other properties around.
Not yet, no.
I think the plan has promise. Yeah, that's my personal belief. I think it's good to.
Good.
Get that back into a neighborhood and out of the construction zone it's been in for the last
Right.
20 years.
Finish it up.
Okay, so I'd be interested to see what you can come up with. So
Thank you for bringing it.
thank you.
Good luck, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Being after 7:10, next is discussion with the butters on 5 L Stevens Road with the levy concern delays from 166 Worcester Road. So what seems to be the issue?
I can address the board. I'm John Horniak from 5L Stevens Road. It's just, I'm not concerned with the lights around the whole building. It's just the two that are facing our property. They're mounted along the side of the building aiming outwards. There's no shield. We can see the bulb directly and they shine in our bedroom and our living room. They're extremely bright commercial lights. All I would like to see is a shield that would cut off the beam on his property.
We did ask for that, they put tape on it.
There was duct tape put there, but 2 years after it's disintegrated and doesn't, I'd like to see a metal shield that just, that's all.
Yeah, or some trees are nice, we love trees,
Something to block that light and keep the light on the
Yeah,
property.
we're not trying to change what they're trying to do, if they want that kind of safety and protection. It's just a little bit like a UFO,
Mhm,
so.
Did you say these are pole mounted or are they?
No, they're mounted on the buildings,
How high?
Pretty high up.
probably 13 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're mounted at like a 80-degree angle, so they shine this way, they don't shine down.
Right.
Maybe lamp posts to shine down on the property would be something, but right now they just beam on our house.
Does he have posts on the other side of the parking lot or driveway or just on the building?
Only on the building, if
Yeah.
you've seen it, if you've driven down 20, they are.
Right out there.
And like if you go to CVS or something, you can't see the bulb, they're shielded, it's just ambient light.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it, but
Yeah.
Dude. All right, thank you. Randy, did we have a lighting plan with that submission when that was approved to? Actually, probably, yeah.
I don't think your photometric was,
Do we have a photometric plan when?
It wasn't that, it was a small site plan, so it wasn't to that scale. There was a lighting plan. In construction, we decided, worked with my electrician and he just did the lights on the building.
Okay.
Instead of the pole mounted lights, and I think everything got signed off, so. Again, I know we did try and tape them on the inside to direct the light from going out and to make it go down more if that light wore off. Maybe I'll just change those lights and put a more focused floodlight going straight down in that area. I was unaware it was still a problem, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
That work for you?
I mean, with the type
Um,
of application he submitted, he didn't have to do photometrics or
Sure,
anything, so you don't really know until
Sure,
it happens.
sure, okay.
How.
I mean, I have noticed the lights on that are pretty bright as you come down Route 20. It's okay. Can we get all the lights and have the proper downlights on there to keep the light within the property and not shine?
Yeah, like I said, I asked the electrician to put lights on around
Gotcha.
the building for
Yeah,
security, and
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
he chose. We
yeah.
can definitely adjust those.
Although there's some people out there in the early morning running around too. so it's good.
They are out there in the early morning, run around.
It's good to have, and not to be.
No, either way.
insensitive to-
But,
just
but,
to-
yeah, something, at least keep it in the property, shine down on the property and not outside the property,
Yes.
so.
I'll
Okay,
have the electrician look into those and just replace, I think there's 6 of them, so we'll just replace all 6.
okay,
Go from there.
and after, soon or a date or? I said soon.
Soon.
Do we have a date?
As soon as I
Soon,
can get
soon as
it by the
possible.
end of the year.
Okay, is that acceptable? And if there's still a problem after these are out, come
very
back
much
and
so.
see us and we can discuss and look at the design better.
We appreciate that, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
Good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, being 7:15 or later, public hearing continued for Charlton Fire Substation site plan application up for Oxford Road.
Mr. Chairman, we also, I think they'll speak more to it, but we just received, review from Graves today.
Okay.
Responding to their latest,
Yep.
middle to.
Yep.
The revised plan. so.
I see we've got a traffic report too for. Consideration for lighting or. Traffic lights at that location.
Yeah, we also received the email from the police chief in regards to that intersection.
Yep.
Should be with the station application somewhere.
The report. I didn't see, it could be on one of the other. Could be again, is it with the grade?
It's a one-page email from the police chief.
Okay, gotcha.
Danny Dowd,
What's that?
and Danny Dowd.
Yeah.
So, I'll read that to get it on the record. So hi, Randy, from January 1st, 2024 to, November 8th, 2024, there've only been 3 reported accidents occurring on Mugget Hill Road, often minor fender benders under 1,000 don't generate an accident number or aren't reported. Speed is often a factor on that road. Many people are using Mugget as a means to avoid Route 20 construction. And grab 395 in Oxford, complaints about people not allowing Ward Station Road to exit onto Mugget have arisen. Typically, complaints occur more so when school is in session. Poor sightlines make it, doesn't make it any easier to pull out. Solar glare makes exiting difficult. Also, time traffic signs near school should be modernized. They currently look like antiques, my 2 cents. We often try to help buses get in and out of school parking lots so they can pick up the next batch of kids. This basically ties up with our resources in the morning. If you have any questions, concerns, give me a shout out on Tuesday, Veterans Day. So. Okay. So it's kind of unclear on what he would like to see, but he does see it as a problem location most of the time, I would think. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at the traffic report. Kind of jump right to the conclusion. The rest of it just not fun to read.
I love them. I know you're like that online.
Yeah, I wish there were.
So, I mean, the conclusion from Mitch and Engineering, basically states that there's nothing that warrants a, guidance to put a traffic signal at that location. And I think it wasn't something we were looking for a traffic signal. I think we were looking for like an emergency signal, so when the fire trucks are leaving, not necessarily a traffic signal that changes with traffic patterns, but a signal that could warn traffic that fire trucks are exiting the facility, because people do come around that corner fast. I'm not sure that was the standard that was the traffic study was done under. I mean, have you had a chance to look at this at all?
Only cursory training, I wasn't at hearing what the board's concern was.
So the board's concern is with fire apparatus leaving the facility out onto the main road there. There's nothing that warns traffic coming up or tells them that they need to stop or and it could be a safety hazard. It could delay the fire department leaving if traffic doesn't pay attention. Something up and down the street to warn them that doors are open, trucks are leaving, slow down, or be prepared to stop. Seems like, for me, it seems.
I think there was another issue. I think it was the people on the living on that road understood that there was always, as Chief alluded to, is trying to effort the people, the buses in and out of them. And with this added fire station there could be a potential of having a real issue there at the site. And it'd be nice to have a light there at the site in case there's something happened, there could be control of that intersection.
Have you worked on other fire stations that are on major roads in this area,
Well,
often,
not
like,
necessarily Charlton, there's one right down from my office in Worcester that has an advanced warning system when, because the trucks, they have to block Grove Street and back into the station, so they're impacting traffic, so there are advanced warning lights on both sides.
Yep.
When that condition exists.
In this case, they won't be backing in, they'll be pulling down through the road and through, so.
There are those systems available.
What?
There are those kinds of systems available. as a
Okay.
Principal system.
Good. And I guess it's the board's prerogative to require whether it's, engineering required or not, but.
Yeah, through the chair, just a couple of comments up right on the traffic report. I think that is interesting and may already be allowed, and part of it, the warrant number 5, the school crossing allows for before a decision is made to install a traffic signal, consideration should be given to other implementation of other remedial measures. So flashers, warning sites, school crossing guards, and so on. So maybe it falls within that. Such an exit warning type of thing. Even though warrant 5 is based for school crossings, I think that the MUTCD might also allow for some other remedial measures before a traffic control signal is permitted. So which would give us the freedom to, in fact, suggest that be put in.
Right, so, I don't know where we go from here with that, but I mean, we can literally,
Well, except the planning board has the opportunity to make it a condition that they want the traffic warning devices to be installed as part of the application. So I think that's an appropriate way to go, that we can make that a condition of approval prior to getting a CO on the building, so prior to them using the building, so. And if you drive through there and if you're thinking about fire truck, cause I've done this. And there's like a curve in the road drop down there. I think it'd be, fortunately, it's 30 or 35, but
Oh, no, people going
people
over.
do that at the very least, but, so if they put it back before the Heritage driveway, maybe down a little bit to give people enough warning time that a fire truck could be pulling out of there. To give people an opportunity to slow down.
a little bit more on Muggett Road, a little bit more on Oxford Road up the.
Yeah.
A little bit before they get to that point. A few hundred yards or so.
I agree.
And somehow they have a trigger that, when the driveway's gonna be in use, with a fire truck leaving, that,
When the door opens, unless it's overridden, the light should come on, I would think.
right.
Are there school
I don't know,
lights
they have
on
a
that?
tree
I know the
point
school
in the
is set back.
driveway, or
Are
how
school
would they
lights on
do it?
that road at all? There's no school, for the 25, school zone lights. I don't think there's
No.
any school lights on.
No, I don't think there is.
So
If I may, there used to be a school sign there that said 30 miles an hour. Somebody had gotten a ticket in the past. They fought that, because there's no crosswalk, because there's no sidewalks. They were not given a ticket. So what they did was they took those school crossing signs, 30 miles an hour, and they shut them off. So the poles are there, but there's no signals whatsoever.
it's not.
And if you notice that
Considered a school.
on the far side, on the east side of Heritage School, where the poles and no lights.
Gotcha.
What I would recommend, as you're saying,
Yeah.
if there be some kind of flashing light, even if the crosswalks outside, fire truck, anything.
Yep.
As I pulled out of my driveway tonight to come this way, it was dark, but just the same, I mean, if a fire truck is pulling out 0 miles an hour, cars coming over the hill at 35 miles an hour. The truck don't do 0 to
Yeah,
30.
they
With their phone in their hand.
Right. I
They
mean,
give
whatever
you
it is,
back
but I
far
just,
enough to
I'm
get people
I'm concerned about the fire trucks pulling out.
Sure, sure.
As far as the school goes, the schools, they get big buses and stuff like that,
I think we are too, so.
that's just my concern.
Good. Looking at three,
My name's Chris Anya. I'm with Niche Engineering. So we had done the study and I just wanted to jump in and kind of address a couple of the comments that you guys have been talking about, if I can. So we had looked at the signal study based on just one of the comments that we got at the hearing prior. Maybe we did misunderstand that. I know there was one of the abutters was at that hearing as well and had discussed a signal at that intersection. So we had looked at the signal warrants for that. One of the peer review comments that we received also had talked about the sight distance for vehicles exiting the driveway there. And we also looked at that. That was one of the other pieces that we basically, we meet that site distance. We exceed the required distance for that. And Jeff, feel free to jump in. I also have Jeff Mandini here, who is traffic engineer who did the study itself, but we essentially meet that. And so I just wanted to sort of state that as well.
Chris, can you point out where that site distance has been measured in the study, or is there any documentation on that distance?
So there would be two, that's going to be in the peer review response letter. We responded directly to that comment in the peer review response letter with the table and the required site distance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, unfortunately now, I think on Oxford Road, I've seen it for myself is. I don't know if it's the Route 20 construction project or Amazon or a combination of both, but more trailer trucks are using that road now than what used to be. It might be a combination of both.
Route 20
Route
traffic.
20 construction,
Mhm.
but and the Amazon. I've witnessed many Amazon trucks coming out of Amazon and going towards the city of Charles Center versus going westbound on 20 as they anticipated they would.
Just through the chair, another question for Mitch while we've got these guys available. In the uniform traffic control device, is there another chapter maybe that we're not seeing that would talk about, instead of a signal, like a more a less, 1 degree down, a remediation device? And do we then meet the warrants for that?
So the
Hi,
traffic
yes,
warning signal.
Yeah.
certainly. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Jeff Bandini, Senior Project Manager with Niche Engineering. I was the one that submitted that memo to the town and looked at some of the criteria. So in short, yes, the answer, there are warning devices that you can put in that don't meet the warrants of a full classic, traffic signal, red, yellow, green. There are warning devices that talk about fire stations and emergencies and things like that. And there are devices that you can put out there that are like basically like a flashing yellow indication. Generally they're solar powered. We like to have, sometimes they're hardwired just for backup reasons, but there are devices that you can install that aren't like a true traffic system. And my understanding from hearing the board's feedback is that's something that we might want to look into as part of this, and not necessarily like the yellow, red, green indication, because you can see in our memo, the volumes, on Oxford and Muggett, yeah, they're significant during some times of the day, but over a full 4 or 8 hour warrant, those volumes combined with the traffic from the side streets just don't trip what a true warrant would be. But understanding, the fire trucks are, potentially pulling out slowly or backing in, we want to make sure that, the vehicles along Oxford can see them in advance. So we certainly understand the board's feedback to want to install some sort of interim device. And then, if for some reason that's not working, potentially looking at ways in the future. And some of the MUTCD warrants, the school crossing and the pedestrian volume, indicate that they basically want you to start at something a little bit smaller than installing like a full traffic signal to accompany that.
Yeah, so basically you have a school zone and you have a fire department and you have no signaling for that. So there has to be some type of and people trying to live on that street, trying to pull out of their driveways. So there has to be some type of, I know it doesn't want, with your traffic studies, doesn't warrant the volume to put a light there, but there has to be some type of, as to your point, intermediary area that we can put signaling or flashing lights or anything to alert people of the situation that is ahead, to slow that traffic down.
That's something that certainly could be installed if that was the town's position, yes.
And is that to install that, it doesn't require the thresholds of traffic counts or anything? That's just and easy to install, no further studies or justification required, Jeff?
I will have to double check, but I don't believe it has any sort of thresholds in terms of what's required for that. I mean, we similarly for pedestrian devices, you know, you see the flashing rapid beacons. You know, we want to just make sure that, you know, these things cost money and time to install, and usually they only get installed when somebody asks for it or you know, somebody is willing to pay for it.
The issue is if we don't ask for it now,
They're not
getting it later is
Gonna be more expensive
nearly
later.
impossible, so.
So, and these signals work, off of a trigger switch, or are they just constantly flashing? Right now, is that how they work? I mean, you
They
talked about-
typically would flash all the time, like a, you know, like a yellow indication that sometimes you see at like a two-way stop control where one side is red and the other side is flashing all of the time.
I know it might be cost prohibitive, but there's some way they put sensors in the driveway that, you know, fire truck gets halfway out and it triggers it? Or is that cost prohibitive for a project like this?
I can probably help out here. I'm Chris Soga from Context Architecture. I'm sitting in for Nina. They do make wireless devices inside that you can mount into the apparatus themselves that connect to a transmitter that can transmit to those warning devices. So when the apparatus leaves the station, it signals the flashing light to come on. It stays on for a period of time, and then it goes off after that. So that is a feature you can get.
Yeah, just like don't have them if they're working all the time and it's,
It
it
knows
is
gonna-
a
it knows gonna
residential
abide by it,
area.
it flashes
So
all
you'll
the
be
time.
blinking all night
Yeah.
long.
So,
And
I think that
the
flashes up.
cost would not ruin the cost of the project, right?
No,
Okay,
you know,
thank
it's
you.
a be a separate project and an independent vendor.
Yeah.
You know, not under the GC, but, you know, through the,
and I don't think it would be cost prohibitive, and I think the safety value of it, I think
Yeah.
is important, so I think most of our town residents would agree. Would agree, that's my personal belief.
I think the whole point of this conversation is there are people on the street that want to be,
They need the protection.
they need the protection, and we have a fire department, a fire station, and the school that has no protection right now that's going out there, so there has to be something in the intermediary that can work to, not put a light up there full time, but have safety for people.
So let's look into that and make that part of the plan so that we can have some sort of warning device that when the traffic is leaving the fire station, the trucks are leaving the fire station. At a minimum, these lights come on and flash to warn traffic that apparatus is exiting onto the road.
I would like to ask, this monitor, say after the fire station leaves, the fire truck is after a certain area, the lights will go out. In turn, would it also turn the lights back on when the fire truck is coming back for a safety feature? Cause if it's ready. Potentially, I think if you can turn it on wirelessly, you can. Sure. You can do it in either direction, and I think it just has to do with how the device is set up. I think on the way back might be more safety for the fireman itself, that whether they're turning in or if they have to back in off the road or something like that. And somebody
Yeah, and
here all of a
Sorry.
sudden.
I was just gonna say, it's worth noting that the way it's designed is the fire trucks will be pulling in the back and then pulling through the building, so there shouldn't be trucks backing in off of that street.
It's a drive-through apparatus.
Sure, okay, so I think the board is requesting that as part of the plan, so. If we can figure out what that looks like and how to adapt it. Okay. Any other questions on the lighting? Nope. Okay. As far as the peer review goes, and we've got Mike here, are there any open items still in here that need to be worked out? You see a lot of,
Yeah, through the chair, there was, there was one remaining minor item about pipe size and traffic lesions, which they did. I guess they neglected to send me the package, you know, this morning. They sent it over later today. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I don't think that's anything that the board should be too concerned about the hold up any potential approval that can be worked out.
okay, so that's number 37.
Yes.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Well, I looked through those seem like they satisfy all the conditions that Graves had. The only one that looked open was the stormwater management 37. And the discrepancy there, I don't know. Mr. Andre can comment on that part of it.
But,
The number 37 is stormwater.
yeah, that was one we were just discussing, that's it's not, it's just a correction they need to make, it's not gonna change the plan really at all.
All right,
Yep, yeah, we provided that earlier today, like you mentioned, and the pipe capacity is acceptable at that location.
so it's just consistency of drawing.
Yeah.
Correction, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we just had to make a small correction to the.
And, I remember the last time we were here, we had trouble getting all the plans that we didn't available. They seem out here now. The photometric plan seems okay. There's not a lot of lighting on the back of the building, or it's mostly down security lighting. Nothing that leaves the parking lot. And figure, oh, okay. Different view here. Parking lot lighting, but there's nothing really on the back of the building, just the just the stairway and entrance lighting.
Take the chair.
Sure.
What's gonna happen is so when this is constructed is the traffic, all the buses gonna go around the other way for them. Cause you have some grading on that block, on that drive coming down. The entrance there, right? So the bus to the school be to go around.
I think Heritage Road is still gonna be used for the school. I don't think. Yeah, it's an exit?
Yeah, I'm a bus driver.
Okay.
Usually the buses enter their driveway and
Okay.
exit that driveway.
Yeah, but
That's the middle school.
pickups go either way.
Either way, correct.
Either way,
Car.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Saying the buses use the other entrance and
Right.
exit,
For the middle school, they exit through that.
okay. Exit and go either direction. Any ideas on the bus, traffic flow optimization? It seems like it's right now.
It's pretty busy in the morning.
Yeah, it
In the afternoon, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna impact it one way or the other.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're doing the grading, obviously there'll be some kind of impact, but.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any special area.
Yeah.
I know there was a question about drainage going on to the lot, but now they consolidate all the areas, the lot is one lot, so the drainage is going.
Oh, for the property across the
Yes,
street?
yes, is that an issue, Randy, at all? or-
So there's a drainage easement that that was created across the street. So that's where the drainage is gonna outflow to. And then it ultimately flows down the slope to the wetland.
Where is the existing sign going to be relocated to for the school sign itself? I see it's right in front of the new firehouse.
Chris Logan, do you know the answer to that? I know we're removing it. I don't know if it's even going back anywhere. I know we were asked to remove it. That was as far as we were told.
My knowledge of the scope, and I could go back and ask, use the research is that the scope is just to be removed. Okay. Of the same location that you're in. In the future, use of it is not on their property, not on the fire station property.
Which is a good point. So what are the limits of the fire station?
We can relocate it to the other side of it.
Yeah, right, like is the other side of the, what are the limits of the fire station property? Yeah. Who owns the property? Where's the schools?
The town owns all of it, so. the
Town owns all of
They
Yeah.
moved the,
Okay,
the sign to the other corner. I mean, they can do this, it's all town property. so-
there's no deeds changing, there's no new lines.
So there's an A&R plan for this. Can I share my screen? I can show you what we've got. You can see this PDF. So you can see there's a lot created on the east side of Heritage Drive. This is that drainage easement I was talking about. So it's essentially bound by the back of curb, and then it goes down just beyond the project limits. So there's a little box out of the corner of the site that's being carved out for the fire station.
So that sign could also be speaking to the opposite corner of it, so,
As long as that doesn't affect the line of sight. Also, that's a pretty big sign, actually.
back far enough, I don't think it'd be a problem. There's
Yeah.
no way in there.
Yeah. All right, so that's interesting. Thanks, Chris, for showing me that. So there is an A&R coming up to carve out
I
the fire
Did we
station.
do that, Anna? Did we,
With the
the
firehouse.
firehouse? We did, didn't we? Yeah, I think
Did
we
we?
had
Yeah,
already
yeah.
done that, yeah. Okay.
Is there a sign going up for the fire station?
This, I believe the signage is on the bill.
On the building, yeah. Naming rights, should I? Build fire station. Heritage farms.
So, okay. Any conditions to approval? I mean, it looks like everything's kind of covered. We can condition the remaining engineering review items as well as the traffic signaling as part of a condition for approval. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna get these to move on if we need to.
I'd like to condition also a sign maybe on the road that says, you know, emergency vehicles approaching, entering, exiting. Mugget, and Oxford and probably.
That's probably something that can be done easy enough through the highway department.
Yeah.
That,
Just signs.
yes.
And then
yes.
a.
And then a
flash
signal for
indicator.
when the traffic is,
Yeah.
the apparatus is entering and leaving.
Yeah.
Remote controlled or
Somehow
controlled,
Yeah,
you know, whether it's when the door opens, the lights come on, unless it's overridden or something like that.
probably gonna be a pretty well manned station, so you could just slap the button and it stays on. But not on all the.
No.
So it's full warning.
My belief is that something that's on all the time tends to get ignored.
Yeah,
Rather than something that comes on when it's only needed, so I mean, you put a flashing light there, it's. See it.
to be intermittent based upon the need.
Yeah, okay,
Well, in the plans, there's no signage or anything in these plans, so.
even on the elevations on the building, there's still.
Should be, safety signage or anything like that. Not
So
signage for the
those
building, but
two
safety
conditions is-
signage For the.
Oh, no,
For the road.
Right.
So to approve these plans without any safety signage or.
We can condition that. Yep.
and then for the warning signal, the controlled warning signal, I guess we call it that. What do you see this as mounted on the ground on a post or hanging off the wires over the intersection or up?
You know, I think we leave that to the professional on the way it works.
Make a recommendation. The ones that I have been involved with, they're usually mounted onto a post and they're sold with a wire, hard connection back up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are solar now, so a lot of them go. Beacons. such, yeah.
Well, mounted posts, yeah, okay.
Yeah, there must be a standard for, put them in where, you know, give people when they start flashing, give people an opportunity to slow down.
Yeah, it has to be
It's
far
all
enough away that they're.
Mile per hour or whatever.
Different fair warnings.
And it's not unusual to have a couple.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I think there's a standard there that we can get off of, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we've got those two conditions, three conditions, signage, warning signals.
Yeah.
And the remainder of the, 37 on the grave report. Feel comfortable approving this
What was the
tonight?
second one?
Signal, I think we said warning signs or just, you know,
Just a,
Emergency
know.
vehicle type sign.
Emergency
Yeah,
vehicle
vehicle
sign.
vehicle sign, and perhaps even the school zone sign too, because the school zone is not,
Is not
It's
there.
not functional
Both
at
of
this
those,
point.
John, yeah.
but the question is, does it meet the legal standard to have a school zone sign there? I mean, it sounds like that was the problem before. Wasn't
Now we
really
have a fire
enforceable,
department.
but it
Now we
still
have
is.
the fire station, so.
Yeah, so it might,
Nothing more for that.
emergency vehicles entering and exiting.
Yeah.
And then the warning light when
A
when
control
they're controlled
warning
light.
signal.
So those three conditions, anything else that you can think of? Okay, feel comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Feel comfortable with
Nice
nice,
conditions, yeah.
Bob, feel comfortable with those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, can we, may have a motion to approve with conditions, the site plan for the
And
fire
we-
station?
Yeah, we will have all the standing conditions, the pre-construction meeting and. Standards as far as a special site residence.
The normal procedure.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire department substation site plan as submitted with three conditions: emergency signage or emergency vehicle signage, controlled warning signal, lighted warning signal, and satisfying the Graves Engineering comment for number 37.
Second.
We have motion a second, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like we're building the fire station.
Thank you. Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Great, good job, thank you.
Thank you.
We did not, you're gonna fill out.
What's that?
We did not, you did.
Yeah, that was doing there. Okay. So, being after 7:45, next on the agenda is peer review project update, Mike Andre Graves Engineering. So, welcome, Mike, good to see you again.
You too.
I think it was just good to have you in here once in a while so we can talk about, you know, what projects coming up, any issues or concerns that the board might have.
Mhm.
I know you used to spend a lot of time here back in the day. Yep, a little bit. So, I mean, a couple of things that can come up and, you know, the board can speak on it, but, some of the questions that we've had come up in the past is, around, surety bonds and decommissioning bonds and things like that, and how is that calculated and how it's figured out? We've seen, at least through some of the data that we've gotten from this board and other sources that I've looked at, that the prices are all over the place. I've seen some tied to $300,000 to $500,000 per megawatt for solar. And you know, some of our bonds are much less than that, and I think we were looking around $100,000 was our number before, but I know that there's some sites out there that are extremely higher. Where did you get the data to peer review what numbers you're given, or do you just look at them and go,
No, we don't do that. I mean, we do keep an internal in my office a database, so the solar projects and decommissioning values and bonds that are approved by the town, so. We do look at that as a reference. We break it down cost per megawatt. And But that doesn't apply to every site, right? Every site's unique. There's some, aspects of certain sites that you need to be taken into account. And now battery storage is a whole nother thing and salvage and recycle costs and all that stuff. And how does that factor? And every town handles that a bit differently. There is no standard that we have found yet that people in the state are kind of saying, this is what you should be looking for. It's still a developing process, if you will, and criteria on how those numbers are arrived at. So we try to give the board the best information we can based on what we've seen and what our opinions are. That's still evolving.
Okay.
From what I've seen, it's basically put the site back the way it was before any construction happened to it is kind of the overarching, seemed like the strategy for that.
Yeah, so these prices include full remediation of the site, or is it just disposal and disconnect?
Yeah, so the restoration is more, I guess, a recent thing that we've seen where, if you're clearing a site. Once the site is decommissioned, all the equipment comes out, obviously, you're left with the field, but what do you do with that field? Do you let it revegetate, you do plantings? What do you do with stormwater basins? Do they stay in place? Do they get decommissioned, outfalls and all that stuff? That's, again, part of what we're still looking at and trying to give the town the best information we can as far as how that should be handled in a decommissioning bond.
Okay.
You've seen our bylaws for the decommissioning. It's pretty vague, which is good because it allows a lot of things that the town, the bylaws can add or control. A lot of that is really just not a heuristic of $100,000 per megawatt, but a line item cost of remove the fence, remove the concrete post, and it's just a line item using standard labor hours, prevailing wages, all of that.
Yes.
Is that basically the way to go rather than $100,000?
Yeah,
per megawatt? Or-
No, we've been seeing that more and more, because that's really the only way you can evaluate it based on
Right,
just,
yeah.
the generic price per megawatt, which is how we started
Yeah.
evaluating all this. But, with that labor breakdown is like, here's what everything they need to do, here's what the cost is in today's dollars and future dollars.
Right.
That's a great way to do it, and a lot of towns are requiring that now. Solar overall is kind of trending down in the central mass anyway, but there's not as many as there were years ago.
We've got the same situation with batteries.
Yeah, but now it's batteries.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that some towns approve recycled costs or recycling or take that off of the dollar amount. I don't think we're in the recycling business, so, we want it out and get rid of it, dispose of it. I don't care what, the town could give back on recycling because we're not in the recycle business.
Yeah.
So, that kind of thing that
Yeah.
you've seen in the past.
There's no net cost. It's just.
Could be more of a liability.
Yeah, exactly. So-
And the jury's still out also.
But there are any things we gotta-
Chemicals themselves or hazardous waste or.
So those numbers, I imagine are changing all the time and you're looking at it, reviewing it and. Okay.
I know we have designing on the agenda tonight. Yeah, same topic that,
Right.
Yep, so I guess we could, when we get to that point, we can look into that a little bit more.
I guess our concern was like, if a solar developer comes in and says this is their decommissioning estimate, how do we know they're not missing large pieces that we haven't considered because we haven't seen them before?
yeah, well, that's where the line item breakdown is helpful.
Yeah.
That will sort out the site work and the physical work that needs to be done
Right.
anyway. And again, we always recommend the salvage and recycling stuff gets tossed out, because that's, those values are, no one really knows
Yeah.
what those values are now or could be in the future. Plus, like Randy said, the hazardous waste is still a question, so we always put that aside, but as far as looking at a plan, saying, okay, they need to take fence down, take all this down, that can be all quantified.
How about like whether it needs to be a hazardous disposal enclosed sealed truck all the way to the dump facility and they didn't include that or something, how do we know?
Yeah.
Or,
Well, we don't really know.
Interesting right now, so we're almost at the 20-year period now where these guys were supposed to live for 20 years, because I think when I started putting them in, it was 20 years ago, or maybe 19 or 18 years ago. Be interesting to see what the new technology is, if there's is there appetite for these people to revive these solar sites? And if there is, they definitely will not have the same technology in there. Maybe they will come up and recycle the product itself and put better panels or better infrastructure.
Technology's improved.
on its
Yeah.
own dollar. So I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Yeah.
Or not.
I mean, again, we haven't reviewed that many lately, and not just this town, but other towns that our office consults in. But you know, the panel technology definitely has gotten better over the years, and they get more output out of the same size panel. Something you said I wanted to comment on too, I think. It's about, so it escaped my mind, I'm sorry. There was a comment you made earlier in that statement that I wanted to comment on too, but yeah, so the technology has gotten better. I don't know if that's, we just limit, yeah, oh, it was about the decommissioning. So now we're approaching times,
Yeah.
the time frame where some of these life cycles are supposed to be expiring.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that happen yet, so we don't have any real data to say, all right, this is really what it cost them to take all this down and restore the site. So we're still looking for that, not just in towns that we consult them, but elsewhere to gather that kind of data to help us give advice to the towns.
I guess what I've noticed in our decommissioning plan or wording in the bylaws. It's also like what triggers decommissioning. Like if we cannot contact the owners of the facility for 2 years and we don't think it's operating, you know, we don't know what, is this operating at 50% capacity or 80% capacity or only 20% because they're all failed or some of them have failed. Like at what point can we trigger them to start decommissioning this thing? And I don't think.
We provided with that data?
Silent on that right now.
Do we get that data? I know that was part of some of the maintenance plans that we have with some of them. Are we actually getting data from these solar companies on the efficiencies and what
Because
they're using?
some towns have that in there. Once you drop below whatever it's 50,
No,
40%,
and actually,
it triggers
do
decommissioning.
some, but actually it might be something to consider
Yeah,
moving forward is that just like they ask for an extension every year,
yeah.
they give an update on the current numbers, the properties they're changing all the time, and any data on the, you know, the serverful life of the panel batteries or whatever we're talking about.
Current efficiency is and estimates.
Yeah, maybe I don't know where we put that decommissioning, you know, that trigger, what's the threshold where we can kind of, enforce the decommissioning plan to make.
Bring it, when it goes back, 30% or something like that?
Right, yeah, something like
I
that.
thought we had a trigger at some point. I'm pretty sure our bylaws have a trigger point.
Yeah.
And I thought it was when it went below 80%
Yeah,
efficiency, it triggered something. And that's,
Yeah,
But that's all
That's
data,
the-
trying to get the data to be reported to us.
So I mean, this question really came about looking at the Sturbridge Road solar. And we kind of looked at those numbers and compared to what we've seen and what we had expected, and they seemed low to some of the numbers that we've seen. Has that estimate changed? Have you seen the new?
We had a comment in June of this year, I think, on letter on that. We haven't seen anything since.
You haven't seen a new? Okay.
No, actually, I've been speaking with you today, if I could, submit comments back in April. I said, you know, we still don't have anything, you know, they keep saying we're gonna do it, we're going to do it, but they haven't, so.
And I see that's being asked and continued again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're waiting on that. I know that, they're having difficulties with Sturbridge and some of the tree removal and access to the power lines that they need, so that's gonna put a hold on there too.
The one we just approved, the battery storage facility right near Incom.
Yep.
I remember they were like, oh yeah, we put the decommissioning plan together. after the approval.
Yeah, but we haven't seen, but it was,
We haven't seen it.
but we need to still approve that decommissioning plan before they move forward, so.
Right, right.
We're waiting to see that, and I think, some of the other ones also, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He's aware of that, and he won't be able to do it until, so
He can't get a building permit until.
Yeah.
until
right
that's
now,
just
he's still,
Approved, right,
they're
right.
focusing on the, Griffin Road property with the two batteries.
Yeah.
And, our attorney's still looking at if there's a simpler way to come back with a whole new modified site plan. For him to do that, so.
Okay, so, any other questions for Mike on, peer review, project review questions? CVs, things like that, I mean,
Other than if you have any good examples from other towns, we'd love to see them just to read up and get familiar, because, we don't, they're hard to find and maybe.
and they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over there.
And I was looking at some of them like, down the Cape area and, the Barnstable area are up,
All right, good.
$300,000 per megawatt.
Yeah, I would think any Intel, new Intel, Michael, would be great.
Yeah, so
See where-
what I can
where
do
it's
is
going.
I can-
Yeah,
I
Just so
can-
we could get ahead of it. 'Cause we see
Yes,
like
since
we're
there is no
behind
standard.
it.
I can gather, in the last few years, what we've seen, of the solar battery, whatever they may be, and give you that information, so you'll have that on hand anyways. Here's what other communities
Yeah,
in the area are doing or what they're seeing. So you have some basis for comparison. I can certainly do that.
That'd be great, yeah.
Are we entitled to see what the percentage of the solar is coming in? So we can, you say, is it worth us?
I
mean,
worth them
no-
continuing
no
on because they
monetary-
could drop down to 10% and not tell us and,
Yeah,
walk
I
away.
mean, that's what
Let
I'm
it
saying,
keep going.
could we,
And I think, if I look at the bylaws, if I remember them correctly, I think there was a trigger point.
Yeah.
Whether it was 80%, 60%, efficiency. There was some sort of trigger point that says you're really not, the efficiency has gone down so much and these either upgrade them or decommission them.
Yeah.
So it is on the
Right.
bylaws, but I don't.
okay,
totally know
I
what they
just
are.
asking them noodles, so.
But we could ask them for that information and a yearly report out.
Yeah, that's what I meant, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
all of a sudden you look at this,
Yep, and I thought it was in the maintenance plans.
Right.
And when they submit those, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Good.
move on to the next subject?
Can I ask a outside question?
Sure.
How are these decommissioning bonds funded?
It's, over the past 20 years, they've kind of evolved.
Okay.
I think right now we're at 25% cash, and then 75% surety bond.
Okay,
So the cash stays in escrow but the surety bond is through an insurance company.
not a letter of credit.
Not a letter of credit, because the problem is,
The one that.
the problem is if you default on that, you've got no money to go after you, and now it's gonna cost the town money. So at least we get 25% up front. Now we've got some money to go after the landowners and make sure that the rest of it gets paid or there's something there. So that's the problem, is that bond stays, that line of credit stays somewhere
In the town.
and then disappears and nobody, the bank's out of business and nobody followed up on it.
year and
Yeah.
bank goes out of
I
business.
think it was more the line of credit was to track the change of hands of the solar companies. So the solar company, like you had a line of credit, it had to be transferred to, and it'll be noticed by the town saying like, well, somebody else is owning the property now. So
Okay,
it'd be a red flag to say, oh, we're gonna go after these people now, so.
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work keeping track of.
Good job, Jane.
Yeah, good job.
Randy's doing
Good job, Jane.
So, okay,
it.
move on. Move on to the next subject. Take care of Jennings Road. Now that it's after 8 o'clock. Next up on the agenda is GAIR LLC Jennings Road Extension Subdivision Bond Reduction Request. And this was another thing that popped up that just sparked some curiosity, I think, in our discussion a couple weeks ago. Looking at the phase 3 and the phase 2 bond reduction, and how some of those values were calculated. Looking at, units for specific units, in one case, And I gotta find out where we were looking at the time. Do you remember which line item it was that?
I think we're just comparing what was the,
I could probably tell you, I've got it all in front of me
Okay,
at once.
okay.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, I can preface this whole discussion if you like.
So yeah, that's fine. So it was the unit price changed between the two estimates?
Yes. So, and Russ and I had a discussion this morning
Okay.
about this same topic, and, I completely understand his position, I'm sure he'll get to it in a minute.
That's fine.
But I'll speak to how we prepare these and how they get updated, so. As this board is probably aware, the unit costs that we have in there for each line item are based on prevailing wage rate work. So the best source of that now, and it has been in the past, is through Mass DOT contracts, they have their bid pricing available online. So every 6 months or so, we print out the list of here, and this is every, from pavement to curbing, blah, blah, blah. And the number of projects that were bid on and what those costs are. So that's what we use to support our estimates. And those costs change over time. So when we feel it's appropriate, when we're doing these revisions, when we're preparing a revised estimate, if those unit rates have gone up significantly, we make a recommendation and adjust that rate in the estimates, but the town has enough funds to finish this project should the contractor be in default. What happens sometimes in the case of, I think on phase 3 in this one, where the costs have gone up on, even in the past year have gone up significantly on some items. The last one was done in 2003, and now we're just updating it now, that it doesn't result much of a reduction at all. Actually, in fact, it was no reduction. It was, the bond should be more actually, even though they completed some work, not a whole lot.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of.
And that's just a straight factor of the unit costs have gone up, or you name it, asphalt, curbing materials. There's no water line here. If there were, you really would be unhappy with the estimate, because the water line is really good.
I wouldn't be, because I'd be on town water, I'd be happy with that. That's another subject.
So that's how we prepare those. Russ and I had a discussion this morning about, and I understand his opinion about, well, he was a bit surprised by the numbers and not knowing that we adjusted them, and thinking that we were doing it, I don't know what words he meant, perhaps arbitrarily. But and the two estimates you have in front of you, one is the one for phase 2. We originally did that in 2020 and just updated it now. So that's a 4-year period there. So,
Okay.
and some of those costs have gone up like 130% in the cost.
Yeah, I think the last time we looked at this a few weeks ago, we had old numbers, and I don't see that here now, but if we were comparing the old and the new were substantially higher than what the phase 2 was, and we kind of said, if that's what it costs, why is it cheaper to do it on phase 2? And I understand going and looking at it from the town protection standpoint. Love to see you get this completely done and get it over with and not have to worry about this anymore. But okay, so that's kind of, I see it now. There is not that same difference between the two accounts. Okay, so understanding you're going for the new value, the current prices, and everything's gotten more expensive in the past 4 years.
We don't necessarily make those unit cost adjustments every time we do an estimate. When we notice a significant increase, like we don't have a number that we put it directly to, on the order of 20% or something like that.
Okay.
And we feel it's then appropriate to make that adjustment so that the town is adequately protected.
Okay. Okay, Russ.
So I'd almost like to start backwards and, addressing some of Mike's comments, and also, the bond itself, and also your policies and procedures, which don't necessarily address what we're discussing. Which I feel it should, because backing up to Mike's last comment of, we make these changes when we feel it's appropriate, being Graves Engineering. I don't necessarily feel that should be the policy and procedure the way things are done according to planning board's vote on my bond that was established for my subdivision. You should have a policy and procedure stating, if this is the way we're going to make adjustments from time to time, maybe if a project gets approved in the first half of the year, a year and a half later in January, it's relooked at and the values are readjusted according to Mike's formula of using whatever the state formula is. If it's done in the later half of the, or if it's done in the first half of the year, it could be done the end of that year or some system so that the applicant and you guys know when that trigger is, so that you don't take a person such as myself who has had a longer working relationship with this planning board than anybody in this room has been in this room. I mean, I remember coming into this room and dealing with bonding issues for lots, for subdivisions, when if we wanted to bond a lot to build on, we gave you a check for $10,000 per lot. It wasn't a system like this, it was totally different. We transitioned into this. We've worked with Mike on it for 20 years, maybe. Okay, not once in the 25 years have I been surprised by a change in the bond amount. So naturally, on Monday, when I got this, and I'm expecting probably north of, let's say, 60,000, north of $70,000 to be returned to me on December 3rd, so I can pay bills for paving and things like that. Now I'm facing a reduction in my bond and I'm only receiving $10,000 back. So, I mean, have to start making some phone calls and figuring out where to get this capital to pay the things that I thought I had set aside in cash, not 25% of the value, but 100% of the value that was established in the fashion of doing business that I have with this town for basically my whole life. I've actually gone and done subdivisions, finished subdivisions for the town that have gone belly up, okay? Before anyone on this board has been here. I think Mike was part of Haggerty Road. Okay, where bond amount didn't cover what the finishing was. And Alan, at the time, the town planner said, Russ, there's not enough money to cover it. Your estimate 60,000, you're a low bidder, there's $40,000 in the account to do it. Will you do it? I said, sure, I have a great working relationship with the board, as I have my whole life. And yeah, I'll do it. So I don't really make anything, but the job gets done, my town's complete. So, you know, now all of a sudden, again, here I go, coming back, same rules and policies are sort of bashing me in the head after I have a dozen completed subdivisions under my belt that not one time has there ever been an issue. I think the system needs to be tweaked a little bit on your end, where you put the policy into effect and say, January 1, Mike, look at these outstanding bonds, readjust them, let the applicant know there's going to be cost increase associated with it. And this is what's going to happen to them, not, you know, 2 days before the meeting. It's, hey, by the way, you're now $70,000 short. So that's part of the bad news, as I see it. Part of the good news is that if you take a look at this, and this is the estimate from phase 2 for finished paving, which was just completed. And I forwarded Mike a copy of the bill that's attached on the end of this, which is an actual bill from Vasello Paving, who did the work to standard of the town as reviewed by Graves in the field. It comes in directly in line with the estimate that was provided for in 2020 when we did the original bond. So the paving bill is $34,000.
You're at 30.
We're at 30, but the paving bill also includes some sidewalk curbage work that was done.
Does it also include the prevailing wage that the town would need to pay to have, that's kind of.
So,
understandable, but it is now done and complete. Okay, so it's really no longer an issue other than a paperwork issue with this board.
Yep. Yep.
But with that said, it would have been prevailing wage because the gentleman who did it shot the price with, I think it was Holden Trap Rock or someone who also does paving, another paving outfit that does big state jobs. And it was right. So are prices going up? Absolutely. Nothing ever goes down, right? I mean, we're not gonna get anything cheaper. That's why we're trying to build the fire station today. But some prices are still in line with certain companies out there. Don't get me wrong, Lynch used to do all my work. Now they're paving the Mass Pike. I think they're gonna come over and pave Jennings Road Phase 2 for the amount that they said they would back in 2020 when they were below that estimate. I doubt it, but they're also not doing the work. So what I'm asking is that Mike evaluates the bond reductions as they stand, as our agreement has been at this point in time, and then reevaluates things on the first of the year. And that falls in line with potentially a tweak in your system that you make in December and say, here's our new policy associated with bonds and subdivisions. It's very simple. Everyone falls in line with it, and every single person across the board knows what to expect.
Sure.
Not just this guy saying, hey, I think I'm being signaled out here. Why? I don't know. So that's my 10 cents. Very reasonable.
So I think that's reasonable, and I think what policy now that triggers a bond adjustment is when the applicant requests a bond reduction. That triggers a new engineering look at to say, okay, now what is the bond request now? Work is committed, work was done. Now we just figure out what happens. If that amount of time between the original and you know, when you ask for a reduction, that's could be the issue. But to go and do it on a yearly basis, you know, if for some reason, you know, you stop construction on this subdivision to work on another project that you have across town. And now we come in, you know, January 1st and we say, hey, we've revised your bond. You owe us another $100,000 on this development that you're not selling anything in right now. That seems less fair than when you come in for a bond reduction and look at the value then. To me, but that's just.
Well, and to address that, I think that with the policy change, the applicant now knows that a year from now, my subdivision is gonna be reviewed, and potentially I am going to have to either buck up more money if I have a letter of credit out there, or I'm not going to be able to get money released. Now that in your hands creates a whole nother problem in itself.
Sure.
With my negative deficit.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's a quandary.
Yep.
We don't know what to do in this situation, but I mean, the good news is that phase 2 is getting wrapped up. My plan is to finish phase 3 and be 100% done in both and be accepted at the fall town meeting. I mean, I'm way behind my own plans, but that's because of a lot of family stuff and, you know, other business things. But bottom line, knowing that, yeah, come the end of the year, the applicant is going to have to say to themselves, well, yeah, Mike's figures, I know they went up this year. I have to get that paid. I have to get that done, because otherwise I'm gonna have to buck up more money, and the bank's gonna be like, well, hurry up, otherwise, you know, we're gonna charge you more money for your letter of credit. Whatever the situation may be.
Now, Mike, you work with other towns. Do other towns do it that way on a yearly basis, or do they do it usually when a bond request comes?
No, it's when a reduction is requested, and I really appreciate the conversation we had this morning. I think it
As do I.
Yeah.
was an honest one.
And I get your fixed costs, you need to know what those are.
Can't be surprised.
Yeah, so I do get that.
The only thing I took a little bit of issue with was the time frame. And we only got the request, I don't know, what was it, a week or something ago, and we had to go out and inspect and get, so that's why it was 2 days before, just because of when you requested it, but that, aside from that. I think, and so no town that we consulted has any policy, if you will. I do think what Russ suggested is very fair, like an annual review at a certain time of year, and we hold those costs until that next review. For the reasons he stated, to give people the chance to prepare and say, I need to get this and that done if I want this amount of money, and because next year it's gonna go up whatever percentage or something like that. I think I thought about this a lot today, actually. I think that's a nice, fair and reasonable
Carrot in front of them.
solution.
So
That if not only for this town, but we might make a suggestion to other towns too, because it's not often, we get complaints a lot about the estimates and, why does it cost me this?
perfectly understand.
And we have to explain the prevailing wage part and all that. and-
That's money out there that's just
Yeah, but
sitting there that you can't use.
I think this is a nice start to a policy that a lot of towns could adopt.
How do you deal with the, the subdivisions that for whatever purpose are caught up in some sort of legal hassle or environmental hassle, and now there's no money coming in, and now they've got another bill from the town that says, you owe them another $100,000. And you're not doing anything, and it's been sitting like that for a few years, and the
Right.
bills just keep going up, and they just go, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
out,
why they
I'm
do
out.
this, right?
You got my
We know. we can
You got my
mold it.
$20,000 bond, or you say it's $400,000 now, and that's probably what it's gonna cost, but I'm out.
But Russ, should-
Yeah, I
he
mean,
should not be
since
punished.
you have those funds, you have.
That's.
Yeah, so, and that's the other part of it
That's what I'm
too.
saying, is it doesn't seem.
I don't know if I said, if I could just finish this one quick thought. I don't know if I said that to you this morning, and I meant to, if we didn't, we can't look at an individual developer and say, treat them differently. Everyone has to be the same across the board, whether it's a bad developer or someone that we know is gonna be in default or is already in default. We have to treat everyone on the same playing field. I think that policy we're discussing would do that.
And to address your issue of, the subdivision that's in Hawk or whatever, maybe that pushes them a little more upfront not to get into that position. Because what it does is it says, guys, this is a ticking clock, and the more you let it tick, the more it's gonna potentially cost you, and you know this today.
Right.
Okay, not, maybe down the road, your costs are gonna go up, maybe. If we determine who is we, I never, sitting on, municipal building committee, water and sewer. And nothing against Mike, we've had a great relationship for a long time, and I told him today, don't take it personal, but I don't personally want a consultant to have the power to say, this is what we're gonna do today and charge the applicant. As a board member, I wanna be the person saying, this is what we're going to do, Mike, please do this, and this is what it's gonna cost the customer.
How does that protect the town? I mean, the goal.
Well, it doesn't,
And
it
it's.
protects the customer.
Well, that's.
I'm coming to you tonight as the customer,
Sure.
but it also, on the board side, you never wanna give free rein to an outside consulting firm.
Sure.
It's just not,
Sure, but
business. Graves has always handled their end of things very professional, and it's not a comment directed at them.
Understood.
Some less reputable company, absolutely, they're gonna write their own paycheck. And I've seen it before in planning boards, unfortunately, so.
Comments, questions? Anyone? How do you feel about that policy, or?
Well, I know, and it's what Mike has to go through is with the prevailing wage rate and that's what it would cost us to, we had to hire, so we'd have to be a municipal contract. But to Russ's point, he is not gonna hire those people to do his work to get his stuff done. So and the reality of that number is it's $4,000 over 4 years, which is nothing, so. And that's probably just the tip of the iceberg if you try to beat down everybody to get them, not beat them down, but you're a businessman, and that's how business is done. But Mike is, and those are the tools Michael has to assess a happy medium, which is what you've discussed and talked about. I think it's awesome. It's like Well, this is what it is, it's like what's the old, the coyote and the rooster, what's that? The Road runner, you know, they fight,
Bugs
and
Bunny.
then at the end of the day, they go back and they do their thing.
20 years ago.
But no, but to be, and honestly, but that would be the fair, so everybody's on the same playing field, and it's like, this is what it's gonna be, so you're aware, and it does put a carrot in front of you to say,
Yeah.
shit, I gotta get some stuff done and get it done, so.
I think Russ is onto something. That sounds like a great policy, a bylaw edit, actually, to rewrite. I mean, it comes in yearly. Cause it's the theorem of no surprises. A contractor can't be surprised like, oh, here's your invoice, you know, all of a
Starting,
sudden.
you know, a year and a half or 2
Yeah.
years into it, when you come up for your next,
Yeah,
maybe that's a trigger. We do it every couple of years when you come up for a subdivision renewal
or maybe, renewal at least.
But that triggers, you know, another cost,
It is a cost.
Yeah, but you're
but you know what that cost is.
right, and I'm telling you, I'd rather pay than have an arbitrary way of doing business floating out there and worrying about.
No,
what's gonna happen.
no,
Yeah, like I don't know if it's arbitrary. I don't know if he just shows up arbitrarily, but when you come in and you ask for, okay, I want some bond money back, and we look at the project and go, okay, so well, what's it gonna cost for us to finish it? It's gonna cost us a lot more now. And on these things, nothing was really done, so you know, you don't have the top coat. Well, that top coat was gonna cost X before, it's gonna cost X plus 20% now. It still isn't done, so that's a 20% up in your bond that you didn't expect to get. If it's not offset by what you have done, then the costs, they're gonna rise. And that's gonna happen yearly under your plan, not just when you're looking for a bond reduction. But I understand, this is outstanding capital that you could use. Yeah, and you want that money back, and I do get that, so, I think as a board, we could probably take that under advisement and, you know, kind of think about that moving forward.
Yeah.
I
like it.
with the full board here, and I think we can discuss that. I think it's got merit, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
We can change and move along that way too, so. Back to what we have in front of us now. So, we've got two bonds here, like you said, phase two is things that are on the slopes have been finished. Do we want to, you know, wait a week and come back and look at this, or I don't know, Michael, if you've seen, what, have you been out there to look at the finish coat, the top coat?
Our office, my office has, yeah.
Okay. Does that change this value some? Is that another, would we say
Well,
30,000 or?
No, well, this reflects the work of our last inspection, so after the top course, and
Okay, was after the top course.
what's after the top course?
Is that right? No.
Yes. Yeah. Top course is on phase two, right? Yes, phase three, yeah. So, you know, I mean, you can see there's just a handful of items left there, one seed and street.
Yep.
And we hold somebody for repairs of top course and keep cover in case that needs to be
Gotcha.
done. Some little bit of drainage and then, bounds and acceptance and as-built plans, so that's really all that's left there.
Phase two, you said gonna be completed end of the year, did you say that, or in the next year?
Well, phase two is the easy one.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
at
yeah.
this point in time, it's really just, there's really minor things. I mean, you know, the outfall structure and detention basin, those structures are actually on property, they're just not installed.
Gotcha.
You know, that's probably the heaviest lifting of all, for myself. You know, there's street trees, again, and that is, you know, I think in that paperwork that I gave you, it shows, you know, the cost of the street trees that I'm providing, and again, you know, I get it, the fact that Mike has a formula that he uses where the street trees are $850 a piece. Now, add in 20%, you're talking about $1,000 for an 1.5-inch caliber tree that on the high end, I'm paying $160 for.
Not even
And-
$200. Yeah.
Right, and you know, The problem, again, the problem is so larger problem associated with that is sooner or later it gets to a point where, you know, nobody's really going to be building a residential subdivision, 112 brothers. Guy like me, there's no way I can afford to bond anything in the future coming up. It's just not gonna happen, you know, so property that I potentially would develop in the future, if I was going to develop it for houses, I would have to sell it to a larger firm to do it. There's no way I can bond that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like street trees alone, we have 45 of them between the two, you know, two phases. That's $45,000 in street trees that ultimately cost me $8,000. Like, it's just crazy. And I have to buy them and put them in before I even get the money back. So, but again, I think that what it should be, what I'm willing to do, or what I'm asking you guys to do, is set aside what the two estimates are today. Okay, not even discuss a reduction, increase, whatever. Treat phase 2 and 3 at this point in time as if we're not working under the increases that Mike evaluated this week on them or last week on them. Then come the first of the year, change the evaluations after you've changed your policy in December at some point in time and say, okay, here's the new evaluations that you're working under. So there's no basic change to the way I've been working with this board for 25 years, 30 years, until January 1, when your new policy comes into effect.
So how does that affect you now? So you're looking for a reduction off of the old numbers?
Exactly. Yep. Mhm.
So I don't think that's the way that the board has been working, at least for the 8, 9 years I've been on the board. Has it been that long? Probably close. 7 or 8.
Yeah.
It's always been triggered on a reduction request that's triggered re-engineering and review. So I think, and I don't have those old numbers. I don't have the paperwork from a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old numbers are right there. But you've got, yeah. And this is for phase 2 and phase, that's phase 2, phase 2. What is the current, what's the current bond on?
The amount I'm looking for, really, you know, it starts with $30,000
So the pay.
for the top coat.
Yeah.
Plus the 20%. That's in phase 2. In phase 3, there was some, grass plot work done, seeding, slopes outside of the roadway, things like that Ron had looked at. And Ron and I, Mike's representative, had come up with a system for all of the grass plots. And what we had said is, okay, as you go up the street and the house is done and finished and the grass is done and it's loomed and seeded, that's a certain percentage of the 19 lots. At the time back in September, I think maybe 3 of those were done or something like that out of the 19. From that point forward, there were probably another 4 or 5 done. Is that sounding reasonable? I think so. So that number right there, I don't know if that was another $40,000 or $50,000. I don't remember.
I don't have the figures if we're holding the old unit rates based on what's done now. I don't have those figures tonight, but.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I had suggested that we set aside this discussion and calculate it for the next meeting under those terms and say, okay, this is the bond reduction amount based off those figures.
So if I can just add something to this, so the phase 2, again, the last estimate we had is in 2020. So we're adjusting 4 years of increases there with this latest group. there's not much work left there. I think we all agree on that. Phase 3 was done, the original estimate was done May of 2023. So, per the policy we're just discussing about if we're gonna adopt that, if this board's gonna adopt that, then we can hold those previous unit prices, we can recalculate what that release would be. And readdress this in January or February, whatever it may be, for the new rates. So, again, I don't have what those figures are tonight, what that release could be. I can have it to in short order, not tonight.
So, holding to those values, your increase, after we give you a bond reduction for, let's say, phase 3 off of the old numbers, your increase in January could be substantial.
Absolutely.
But it's January.
Right, and in that time frame, I'm already looking forward to my next bond reduction, which I was hoping to be in December.
Good.
There are certain things, like I stated, about how the outfall structures are there, but not necessarily in place. Me personally, I have a $2,000 structure that I paid $2,000 for. That's $6,000 in your sheet. So I have two of them, that's $12,000 that cost me $4,000 out of pocket already. I'm looking to put those in as soon as the ground gets frozen and I can't be planting lawns. That way I can get the $12,000 back plus 20%. And this way, there's also a number of things that are just set in place to do that on that are going to total an amount that come January, I'm gonna be right back in the position of getting a check from you guys. Because that's my money.
To do the next piece of work.
Right,
Yeah.
and I've already paid into an account my money so that when I do the work, I get paid.
Sure. Right, well, yeah,
So,
yeah, I hear you. The way we've designed it with and inflation has not been on your side here at this point in time. Like, we've designed it so that you can't get any money back, you're just gonna owe us more money, then you can't do the project, to use the money that you've been relying on for a bond reduction. So we've designed a system that, fails the small developer, and then we have unfinished developments, because of the design of.
Like you're getting into
cost
some
estimates,
right?
revisions.
actually, I should be, and that's a whole nother issue that I have going right now with the town. No, I'm serious, it's
No,
like,
but-
that money is supposed to be.
I understand it's your money and it's your money and you put it in there and you put it in good faith and good faith that we are to give it to you as you develop your property. I have no doubt that that's that. And that should be true. And I understand your frustration with that. You understand your frustration with that. The only thing that we've had that have come upon us with, and I'm a construction guy, no doubt. But there's been a few developments that, to your point, that have gone sideways here. And the town has had no recourse on, and the town is caught holding the bag.
Yep.
And I understand you're getting punished for, not punished, but being cast into that same light, which is not right at all, so. I think the discussion tonight is what would make you whole at this point as we go forward right now. So that's what I'm proposing. If we take a look at his expenses right now, what would make him whole until we have another discussion about how you progressed on the site with Michael and stuff. So at least.
So your plan is to come back in January for another bond reduction?
My
You think you've got
real
enough
plan
room?
was to come back in December.
Okay, well, we're almost,
So,
we're close to that now.
absolutely.
Yeah, what if we do it in January, or?
Well, I think he's looking for some money now to move forward in the next phase, so I think we need to look at this bond reduction and.
At the old numbers, right?
Well, he's
I think-
presented some money for his paving
So-
and such, yeah.
So I'm always looking bigger picture, not necessarily looking, I don't want the whole apple. and I'll need it. But paving is the easy one. If you say, okay, the paving in the old estimate is 30,000 plus 20% brings you to 36,000. That covers my paving bill. Enough said. Easy on my end, but easy on your
But
end.
does that leave enough in the pot? Does that leave a big enough apple for, you know, the protection of the town? Now, I know you're
I'd
gonna
have to
finish
say
it,
absolutely.
and it's, but what's left in the basket, is that gonna be enough to cover the rest of it? Looking forward, not trying to, trying to be fair with everybody and not, just pick
Well,
our
I-
favorite contractor.
So
and-
I
and
can
help them out.
tell you it is because the paving that just got done is totally in line with your estimate.
From 2020.
Right. That's the check and balance.
Mike?
Yeah, so I'm just doing rough numbers and I get in trouble when I do this on my math in my head. Is, the 30, if I heard you right, 30,000 you're asking for out of phase two.
Yeah.
Would leave the town with around 50-ish or so for the remaining items. I think that's,
Right.
based on what's left, I think that's fair.
Right. Yeah, it's not like good 10 times off. I mean, it's,
No.
yeah, a couple of moments.
No, and only 2 months ago,
Yeah, yeah.
only 2 months ago, that was okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And in fact, the argument is that helps him accelerate the completion of this whole project. I hear you. I like.
So,
And
so if
now.
we're looking at
and
phase,
now-
yeah, so if we're looking at phase two, so there's currently, the previous total was a little over 81,000, almost 82. The estimated reduction is 71, so that leaves a revised total of 10.
No,
Is that the way I was?
no, you're looking at it in reverse. I wish, I'll
That's the
take
way it's
that,
written.
Don.
That's the way it's
I'll take the
reduction.
71.
So I mean, that's just the way it's written on this front sheet. Estimated
It-
reduction.
Yes, it is written incorrectly, isn't it?
Is it incorrect there or is it incorrect on the next?
No,
No,
Okay.
it's incorrect.
it's incorrect.
I mean, because that's what I'm looking at here going, okay, so the revised total is 10, we currently have 70, but you're only asking for 30. There's something, okay, all right, okay.
Depends on
I
if you,
apologize for that.
the reduction
Okay.
to the town.
So the reduction is
reduction
10,
to
the
us.
revised total is 71, okay. Okay, and you're looking for a reduction of 30 based on the old numbers and what's left on
30
this?
plus the 20%.
So 36.
Right. Yep. And then we already have the calculated numbers in phase 3 to move forward on. And then all Mike would have to do is recalculate the numbers in phase 2 to make everything jive.
Right, so we're not looking for a reduction on phase 3 at this point.
No,
Okay. But you're not looking to pay extra money either.
right. And what I'm saying is.
Looking for the whole apple now, Russ.
No, not, because what I'm saying is by the time we get to the next bond reduction, things are gonna balance out.
Yeah,
Right
gotcha.
now, you say, let's say we have a $58,000. Is it 58,000? That it's, light?
Yep.
Let's just say it's $58,000 late. So in January, when I come before you, I get a check for $12,000 for $70,000 worth of bidding. That's the way that's gonna work, and then it's gonna be balanced out for 2025, so when. The very first available paving date comes up in the spring and we put the top coat on the road,
We're staying with those numbers.
then I get that
Those
one.
numbers aren't changing.
Right, those numbers are good for 2025, because believe me,
Yep,
the
I
person
know
in
we
the
had,
room who wants out more than anyone is me.
Yeah. Let's get this done, right? Yeah.
Right.
I think that's fair.
I think the board has a lot of, reasonable, movement on this. I think it's a reasonable request from the applicant. I hear your point, Russ. It can't be a surprise like this, to not only expect action, but then walk away with an increase like that is just, untenable from a business point of view, so. But I would see if we could entertain such a request as that, $36,000 reduction. And then reevaluate when? December?
Well, phase three has already been reevaluated.
Reevaluated, so we're gonna go with these
Well,
numbers.
you're okay with that?
Right, and Mike would reevaluate phase two, what's left, and make that jive based upon the $36,000 reduction.
Yeah, but there's a good chance this will be a lot less than that at that point because you've done some of these things on there.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
The only thing I would add to that is, the phase three estimate is based on what rates from October 23 to October 24. All right, so we're talking about a couple months there.
Yeah.
If we were to reevaluate in January and I pulled the new rates and whatever, there could be a little increase there, but.
Well, you just
It's-
reevaluated them.
In October.
Yeah, but as of, those unit prices are as of October 2024. We did it in January, I pulled the rate that up to January, so it's a couple months.
But because they were reevaluated in October, there'd be no need to do it again until 2026.
So you're looking for,
Under what I'm.
Yeah.
and I'd almost be okay with that, saying, let's reevaluate, we're close enough to the end of the year, beginning of the year.
Yeah.
If we reevaluate, starting, 18 months from now, or 15 months from now.
Yeah, I agree, but for other projects that.
Sure.
Say we do it in January, that's when I would pull rates and everything. would be
Yep, and that would
updated.
stay like that for the year, and then we'd
I just wanted
reevaluate
to-
it in January
And
again.
the prevailing wage, it depends on the contract. Some of them are 6, some are 12, some are 18, so months. So it's just, it's not a substantial increase in,
Okay,
it's a $50 here and there. So it's not like it's earth shattering to the amount that the cost would be adjusted. The materials, that's a different story.
Right.
okay, so the current outstanding rate now for phase two is 81 and change, 82,000. The request is for a reduction of 36,000, that rate. Would leave, a total of 25 or so thousand, seems adequate for what's remaining, for what little is remaining.
Yeah.
Considering there's a phase three that's going on through that.
Right.
But I don't think the town is getting into a position where it's in trouble.
You want a motion on that?
Please.
Make a motion to consider the Jennings Road Extension, construction cost estimate revision to bond for phase two. To accept a reduction of $36,000 off the total of 81,726.
Motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Good
Thanks for
discussion.
the
Thank
idea.
you, appreciate it.
very
Thank you,
much.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring your ear so long.
No, good discussion, and
Yeah.
I see your point, and it's good to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. Have a good night.
Good night.
See ya. Sorry to keep you here so long.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so thank you. I'll get it later.
Okay, do you wanna?
Grant your reduction.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
No, so the reduction is gonna be, this number is off here, so the reduction is gonna be 36,000. So this is wrong here, this should have been, the revised total. Where the reduction in the paperwork was actually only 10,000, so these numbers should have been switched. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Reduction is gonna be 36,000, so the total will be whatever.
Sorry about that, that got by me.
That's all right, that's all right, that's all right. That's why I was confused here for a while.
Yeah.
Don't it look like,
36,000,
36,000 is the reduction.
so 81
That's not
cents,
government control.
36,000.
Yep,
Whatever that final
Whatever that
number is.
final total is.
But
It's engineering, all we've talked about is money all day.
we're trying to make sure we're doing this
That's
right,
that.
so we're giving Russ
$36,000.
$36,000.
Not doing anything with phase three.
They're not doing anything with phase three yet.
No changes to phase.
He might be writing us a check for $50,000 coming. We'll see what happens
I
then.
guess he's gonna get a bunch of work done.
Yeah.
That is.
Oh, it's true. It's the carrot though. You gotta put the carrot in front of them too. so.
Good. Okay, so 8:15, actually, is there anything else here needed from Mike?
Yes, there's a bunch of things.
Okay,
Well, the decommission bond that's been, right, request to rescind the 25 lot Tick Farm subdivision.
so this is the next agenda item, White Development Corporation request to rescind 25 lot Tucker Farm subdivision off of Smith Road. So this is the,
They just asked for an extension?
They're rescinding the 25 lot subdivision because they're gonna build 5 state lots.
so there were 2 outstanding site plans, or subdivision plans on this property. There were 5 estate lots for a 25 house subdivision plan. They've decided that they're gonna go with the estate lots. And nullify the subdivision plan. So we just need to vote and sign to.
Yeah, and you have to sign.
Okay. We need to vote to rescind it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have a motion to rescind the 25 lots Tucker Farm subdivision, plan off of Smith Road? 6-A-4 and 41 and 42. 4.2 4 plan.
All right, I'll get this right.
And this is, the form the plan board needs to sign, because it has to be filed with the registry of deeds.
All right, so let's get the vote.
Okay, I propose to rescind, how much?
So this is a 25 lot subdivision, Tucker Farm.
Rescind the application.
So rescind the application for that.
We rescind the application for White Development Corporation for on the 25 lot Tucker Farm definitive subdivision.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous,
And
rescinded.
to go along with that, this is the Mylar that, they created for the 5 lot subdivision. That, never got filed with the registry of
Oh,
deeds.
okay,
Planning board had to rescind the first one,
okay,
so we need Mylar 1 copy. For them to sign, and the planning board has to sign the approval of the rescission.
So we
4 in favor,
approved it,
0.
but never signed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was signed, but they never filed with the registry of deeds in time.
Yeah.
So the registry of deeds said, go back and do it
Oh,
again.
This is just saying that the town voted to rescind it. That,
Yeah, this is just the.
whatever pen you choose.
You sign
Which one you're in?
Yeah.
We're signing here.
the, yeah.
Is that the A&R? I've actually never seen that.
So all these were, there was.
This is the plan they get approved.
Yep, yep.
But they had 2 approvals on one, and they couldn't file this with the registry of deeds until
So
they did the other
Kind
one.
of told them that. and they
Yeah,
didn't
they
believe us.
didn't, now they wait till like,
Okay.
they wanted to close on it yesterday, I'm like, well, I was a little late, you know, so.
So there's 4, I thought there were 5 lots, there's 4 lots, 4 reduced frontage lots.
Total,
They're not
1,
reduced frontage, are they?
2, 3, 4, the 5th lot.
Oh, the 5th one is up front here, okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't date that, did you?
I
Did
did.
the date? What's the date?
20.
20, November 20.
Is that? Like, how many people do you have in about this now?
I don't know. I'm actually looking for two more.
Are you?
You know anybody? The audience can hear that. We're hiring.
No one PE's kicking around. Coming over.
We have five right now.
Yeah, five.
How many are PEs? Two. So you don't need them all, PE, just.
We don't need these really.
You're not looking for everybody with a stamp, you're just looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
It's got a useless Irishman working for him.
I'll tell him you said that. You said hello to.
No, they don't have
All right, you dated the Mylar. Does the Mylar have a date? I think so. Did you date the Mylar?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. 820, Sturbridge Road Solar Farm LLC annual approval extension for North Sturbridge Road Solar Facility, extension to actually, there's three outstanding two permits, subdivision and solar extension. So the solar extension request for 11/18 to 11/18/25. So North Sturbridge Road Solar Facility annual approval request to 11/18. No motion? Do we need a motion, each one of these separate?
To the chair, what's going, is this the one they're still working on here? Okay.
This is the one that's still working on Sturbridge Road, right? Yeah. On North Sturbridge Road. Yeah. Yep, Lunar Meadows. Is it still called Lunar Meadows? Has the name changed? Okay, yep, this is the one that they're still trying to get the wires.
Oh, so that's the one they're cutting the trees on the side of the road. and stuff.
To go all the way into.
Yep, so there's work going on to it. We're still waiting on a decommissioning plan for it and everything else, but there is work going on. I don't know, did we talk about that? I know Sturbridge is giving them
I
up.
know they came in like a month ago about talking about cutting
Yep.
the trees on the
Yep.
side of the road, so.
But I guess Sturbridge is still giving them a hard time about cutting trees on the side of their road, so.
Yeah, there was an article in the local paper this week.
Yeah.
Saying that they
So, motion, so moved.
Yeah, make a motion to approve the Sturbridge Road Solar Farm LLC annual approval extensions on North Sturbridge Road Solar Facility.
So I think we need to do each one separately.
Okay, so we'll do the North Sturbridge Road Solar Facility annual approval extension request. Send it to 11/18/25.
Second that. Motion a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Do the North Sturbridge Road Scenic Road Special Permit Annual Extension Request to it's 11/26/25.
Second that.
Motion a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
And the Lunar Meadows Definitive Subdivision Annual Approval Extension Request extended to 11/3/25.
Second that.
Motion second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. We have an A&R for Hearth and Sonnensdale Trust on Sonnensdale Road. So an A&R, is that what you're getting, Randy?
Structure.
So there was. While you're getting that, Randy, there was some questions on Curtis Hill way back when
Mylar.
Oh, really? Not page eight, doesn't say page one and then page one.
Go back. Yeah.
You calculated the bond for Curtis Hill yet? No, there was nothing happening there.
I think it's good, really, you know. We 4 lots in my mind, and some give a. right now, it's right in the lot, they will. Later on, they'll be coming back to the board for
approvals for,
approval for, well, they won't have to come in the driveway that is longer than what. I mean, for 3 houses and, you know, would be produced.
Yep.
The applicant is going to the DBA to request a variance.
okay,
So they won't be coming here for the special permit for a little bit till they get through the variance process.
Good.
Process with the DBA.
we've got some wetland across going on.
Yeah,
That's why they want to do just a single crossing instead of,
I think they're trying to avoid getting all kinds of wetland problems and everything, so. That's a lot to deal with DBA conservation.
okay. Did you see these? There's one. Look at that one. So there's 4 in our 4 lots. So you've got 1, 2, sorry, 3 lots, 4 lots, 1, 2, 3, 4. These 3 lots will be, looks like you're gonna be off of a single.
Okay, yeah.
But this is just to break up this land and create 4 lots. These lots are all legal size. So, can be an issue.
They're all buildable lots.
Yeah. So here, lot 1, lot 2, 3, and, sorry. Yeah, so there's only 3 lots here, or is there?
There's 2, there's 1.
So there's 3 lots, right?
I believe it's a total of 4 lots. 3 lots will be served by that common driveway basin.
All right, 3
Okay,
lots,
so
right,
the
4
3 lots
lots.
here, then the remaining lot here.
Yeah,
This one may not,
yeah, that one isn't part of the common driveway.
okay, but would it be buildable? Because the land, I mean, the house would have to be up here, it couldn't be back here, right? So it would have to be,
Yeah, that,
okay. Because it,
but they
Yeah.
do have the ability.
What would their frontage be?
the,
So they,
yeah, that may not be a buildable lot, but it's a lot.
Which one, this?
The,
That one.
yeah, the far to the left one.
But that's
Right.
not labeled, is that lot 4?
Well,
That's why,
Comes up here.
looks like they're taking, that's
Yeah.
part of the original lot though. So they're breaking 3 lots out of it and then the remaining piece there, but it doesn't look like it's a buildable lot anyway, so. It doesn't have the right frontage. And I'm not sure that it's got the right setbacks to where they would need to build.
It's all wetlands back in here too, so.
Okay.
So by our bylaws, if the lot shrinks down below what the frontage is, you have to build in front of that part. You
Yeah,
can't shrink it down and build
That's
behind
why
it.
we have the parcel.
Right, you can't have this
A,
much. And this down
That's
here.
this, and then build something back here,
Right.
because that's not really
So,
big. So
yeah,
the house would have to go
go
before it shrunk down below your required setback first.
So that covers it, that's not a buildable.
Right,
lot.
from same board
Okay.
perspective.
Make a motion to approve this A and R for, Heart Band Sonnensdale Trust.
That's for,
On this little road.
Sonnensdale Road.
We have a motion,
My second.
motion a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't want to
Unanimous.
that paper.
Things we signed it,
Yeah.
got ahead of myself.
Beautiful farm, she lived over here on Davis Road, and they sold the.
They get it taken back when they get called that the registry of deeds.
Yeah, but I need a copy.
And we are.
And-
need a copy.
Okay, I'll get the documents.
Well, it. So they're all finally saying they're building on. And the bank on the parents guy.
If you get a wet piece of property, I guess right now is the perfect time to perk it.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is there a lot of perks now? Perk it now? Right? Haven't had rain in 3 months? I don't know.
I would imagine there's a few builders thinking about that.
Yeah, I think there is.
Had to do a perk test. Like you would pick me, it's like you always gotta have a cup of coffee when you have a perk test, so you can.
More things, I don't know if all the board members have had a chance to sign their name.
Yep.
We have
Yeah,
two
just
things
waiting on
there
Patsy.
under other business, one is the annual contract for Mike Andre.
Who's he?
But, so,
The contract's a bit late. That was supposed to be in June this year.
Oh, the rates went down?
Yeah. I just like to say, you know, the town of Charlton's been a valued client of ours for over 25 years now, I think. And we're honored to continue that service. You know, going right now.
How many towns do you have agreements with? Like they.
We have agreed with all the towns we work with. Right now, the number sits somewhere just south of 30. Not all are as active as.
Yeah,
Obviously, because
yeah.
I need 10 more people in the office now.
Yeah. And they're not exclusive, so
Some are.
some are, yeah. That's right. This agreement is for one calendar year, is that
Fiscal year
fiscal year?
24, which we should have done this back in June. But they have slip over.
Yeah, I mean, just take a look at it. I haven't signed it yet. Just take a look at it.
Any of the terms change from a previous agreement?
Identical to the past 10 or so.
Yeah.
So, going back to like decommissioning bonds for solar and battery and things like that, and we've had this discussion amongst the board. Is there firms out there that specialize in that kind of thing? Is there, you know, do you feel comfortable doing that and knowing that you're getting the right value? Like I said, the numbers that we've been seeing are all over the place.
Yeah.
And it seems like some of the ones that we've had, especially I think it really came about, and a couple of the solar stuff that we looked at, they just seemed really low compared to what we were expecting. And I kind of wanted to make sure it wasn't just a cursory glance at the numbers and they just kind of looked at it.
No, I don't think there is an expert out there in this field that we've seen. All we can do, like I promised the board, is I'll gather as much data as we have from recent data. And give you the best information that is out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, even, we'd rather err on the high side than the low side. And I think we've got a couple of solar farms out there right now that if they got up and walked away, it would cost the town a lot of money. Just because we did not get enough bond out of them. And some of them, I'm not even sure we got bonds. Some of the original ones coming in, like, I think that the one of Route 30 in Richardson's Corner, like
9 or 12, no bond at all.
had no bond at all.
Yeah.
We never reviewed that, and that was the first one.
Yeah.
Right.
oh, I know.
Yeah, and who's accounting
Right,
for it?
maybe if we put the end
To
of
make
it,
sure they.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we're covered moving forward, especially with the battery stuff, because that's
Oh, yeah.
also all over the place and what we have for I know batteries are recyclable, but there's only a few places in the country that actually do that, and the shipping costs and, you know.
Well, we had not an assault, but there had been a couple, large scale. And I don't know if they.
That we're still waiting on, there's a few out there that we do not have.
Overlay
decommissioned stuff
energy
on.
district here and having batteries, like a huge battery farm in 2 locations, and then the people that wanted to put the new exit on,
So we got about, this,
Matt Pike and so.
about what, 800 acres that somebody, that was about 800 acres that they wanted to put a solar farm.
They kind of said that they wanted to go the Department of Education.
Yeah,
Almost like an eminent domain type thing.
well, that would go in front of the energy facility
Yeah.
setting board.
The last one we have here for this is, we have the covenant, for Curtis Hill Estates that has to be signed. And also, the Mylar has to be signed to be, so this all can be filed to registry of deeds.
Okay.
Yes, there's multiple pages here.
The police department,
With that,
Blair.
yeah, so
Now, is this the new plan?
that's the final version of the plan that gets filed with the registry of deeds.
Every page.
How many lots is
Covenants
there
that
now?
are put on the property, and then once he wants to start building, get it, and get the board to have the covenant release
Mhm.
in order to start construction.
How many lots has he got there now?
I believe it ended up being 72.
71 or 72,
Yeah,
Cause wasn't it originally gonna be 76 or something?
Yep.
yeah, it went down.
And lot
so,
6 and 7 are not part of this, of the covenant.
They made on like a whole open space through the middle of the project.
Yeah, I remember, I'm used to, before, but
When they looked at a couple of other things with the wetlands, they had to reduce it.
before I signed this, I didn't wanna cause any problems where I live. on-
With your neighbors, yeah,
That's it.
you're gonna
Yeah,
blame
so
you.
I
Get on the
signed it,
planning
I
board,
signed
you're done.
Should
There
have
you go, Bob.
a formal vote on
Oh, no, I just don't wanna
contract.
cause a problem for the planning board.
You can always use yourself if you felt, the need to, so that's.
We should, wanna make a formal motion that we should vote on that.
On the covenant?
Yeah, on
Yeah,
the
great.
green and gray space.
The great agreement, yeah. Okay, we want to take a look at this, then we can vote on that too, or I guess we don't need to, we just need to sign it. Did you look at the graves? Did you look at the agreement?
I did.
Any issues?
No issues. Don't see it on the agenda though, so
It's
On the other business.
it's under other business.
other business. At time of posting.
Make motion to approve the Graves and civil engineering contract for services for 1 fiscal year.
I second.
We have a motion, this is from July to June. Okay, we have a motion, a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for all you do.
And the team.
If I know any engineers, if they come out of school, I'll let you know. Civil engineers.
Yeah, we usually get that flush in.
I'm looking for electrical if you know any.
Circuit designers.
Yeah, circuit designers, anybody out there? Those are harder to find.
I guess what I'm asking, I don't wanna cause a problem of, cause outside, but where I live on Curtis Hill Road, I'm not in a butter.
Yep. Now, it's, so have you taken the, any of the courses that, for the state? So you can recuse yourself if you feel like you may be, in a situation where.
If it's a conflict.
If it's a conflict. If you feel it's a conflict or could be a potential conflict, for yourself.
Okay.
You could recuse yourself, although I'm not sure that this one,
Conflict of interest would specifically, I would say, have something to do with self-dealing in this affair.
Okay,
If you don't feel that's in need, you can sign away.
okay, that's,
No
I
problem.
mean, I just wanna, I'm looking
Yeah.
at, is the interest of the town and everything, what the correct things are gonna be, and that's, I just don't wanna cause a problem.
you wanna,
by-
You're right.
I mean, you don't have to be near the property if you don't like a particular
that's-
project and you don't think you can stay objective with it. You know, you have personally against it or for it. Then you
where
can
this was
request to
already
be
voted
recused.
on, and it was actually it was prior before you, prior to the way you're doing it.
But you actually came and you gave testimony.
Yeah.
You talked
Yeah,
about-
that's what I'm saying, I don't want to, I don't have a problem with it, I just had
No,
questions
no,
about
no,
it.
You're fine,
Okay.
no.
So I
mean,
guess
It's a done deal before he came here.
that's what I'm saying, so can he sign that, because this really should have been signed
I got the
at that
extra copy.
point, right? He wasn't part of the board
He
when
still
that was,
wasn't part of the.
Yeah.
I know this is
So I should
after the
have
fact.
signed it.
Yeah, I did.
I think.
but he wasn't part of the vote to approve it. So
No, he was
I'm
not.
not sure it's necessary, I mean, there's three of us here.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't wanna cause a problem
Oh, sure.
further down that all of a sudden there's legality and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I can actually.
And he wasn't here to vote on it, should he be signing it?
You can.
Probably better to err on the side of
Yeah.
caution.
Do we, is three signatures enough for the Mylars for Curtis Hill? Or do we need a supermajority for those? I'm wondering about, Bob wasn't a member at the time that the vote was taken, can he still sign the Mylars?
Not in butter.
He's not in the butter, but he was not a voting member at the time that the vote was taken. For the gray area,
Yeah, they're.
didn't really care. So the next question is three signatures enough?
Three is enough, doesn't have to be majority in that three.
So three's a majority.
Is it a flexible
Yeah.
subdivision though? Is it a special
So,
permit?
yeah,
It is a special permit, so it is a special permit because it's a subdivision. It's a subdivision, but it's not a split, but is there a special permit? It's a subdivision.
Is it a flexible?
well, it's special,
Yes.
it was a flexible subdivision.
Is that, I don't recall, is that a special permit in town?
Is a flexible subdivision is a special permit for Choba, because it's.
Okay.
Flexible subdivision,
Flexible
Right.
subdivision.
which triggered a special permit.
Is that a supermajority?
So then we need, exactly, so then we do need four, so.
And I don't know when Patsy's getting in.
At the time of the application, there were four members.
Yeah.
Patsy was a member,
Oh, it was, Jamie was.
so the question is, if three out of the four, that's a super majority. Even for a special
Oh,
permit,
that's a
so
good point.
Don, Bill, and John signed it. That's a super majority, and
Because we were only four at the time.
yeah, because we only had four members at the time, which would have, Patsy would have been the
But since
fourth.
it's a five-member board,
So, is
yeah,
Bob
because it
actually-
is a five-member board, I still think you still need four members.
I don't mean to
It doesn't
interject, but
matter. It doesn't matter on
You need
who's here,
four, yeah.
you need four
Also, it's the total members of the board.
of the total size of the
And
board.
Patsy is.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, it doesn't matter how many are there at a particular time, it's the county board.
Of the board.
I'm just wondering the legality, how to proceed with it, so I don't wanna.
I hate to do it and find out it's causing down a lot of problems.
I don't think you're, only because you've come and you've witnessed, and to me, it's innocuous, actually. Unless you have. a check
yes.
lead that you catch.
Yeah.
Legally, he wasn't a member at the time.
No, he was not.
So legally, he wasn't a
Legally,
member
he
at
was
the time
not.
of the decision, so.
what do you think?
Yeah, I think we.
But the vote was a supermajority at the time, this is just signing the Mylar.
Just signing the Mylar. Just to make them.
Yeah, so if you separate the vote, which was a
But
supermajority.
the signing of the Mylar is attached to that vote, the approval process. This is just legally representing that vote.
That's why I'm confused.
Yeah,
So
I know.
What did it say?
Okay, so.
Okay.
So that's still four, but
Patsy,
we
would
need,
like have her come in and sign that? You would have your four? I just hate to sign it. I don't have a problem signing it.
No, you
Go
just
in-
don't wanna come in.
I can only
Then
tell you my
there's
experience,
question
that might be the
later on.
legal opinion because you had a
That's what I'm
board
saying,
member
I
that's
don't wanna,
passed.
I have no opinion because of, she passed away.
I don't think Bob can sign it all.
Was kind of
He's
my,
not a voting, wasn't a voting.
wasn't a voting member at the time. So it would take the 4 voting members at the time, which were the 3 of us and Patsy. You don't know when she's coming back, she's family issued on that?
Not till December, right?
She's
What
not
is-
come back for a while.
When does Clay need these?
Oh,
When did these?
yesterday,
Of course he does.
So it should be
yesterday.
signing coincident with a vote in order.
Yep.
to Keep it all together. Yeah.
Who would notice if there's only 3 people, would they come back and track it, or?
If they ever come back and track it, that could shut things down. Yeah, I think it's a potential. It's a potential. Not that it would definitely happen, but you're in the legal world, if somebody came up and fought that subdivision
It's like there's only.
and said
They
that
really
that
want both of
subdivision
the
was not
bylaws.
approved by the town,
Yeah.
and here's my
They do.
proof.
We
This
had
person
to
was
go
not a
back to
member
meeting.
of the planning board at the time
Yeah.
of that approval,
So,
and they could shut
So I
it down.
guess we should wait.
That's why I asked that. I just
Yeah,
thought-
no, that's good, that was a good
You know,
question.
cause I mean,
yeah,
and I all started because of when when he said the tunnel was a beautiful tunnel and that's.
So I think we're gonna have to wait till Patsy gets
Don and I
back.
want
to-
I really feel we have. to-
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, just let him know that we
We
don't have a super majority to sign it and we're, you know, legally,
I know.
it could put him in a bind.
Yeah, Cleve's likely to sell this subdivision
I think he's
to
already.
somebody else.
Is that what he's,
Well, that's the rumor.
he can't afford our bonds?
But if he does, you don't want down the road to some future property owner, developer to run into a problem because the planning board did something wrong.
Yep,
So
yep.
better to wait and cover our bases
That's why I was saying.
till
because
Patsy
I
gets back. I'm
questioned
glad you
things.
brought that up, but
Okay. I smell
that's
future chair.
good. Now we don't have to wait on this.
There we go.
You said, yes,
Second that motion.
come on. Minutes,
What's that?
the only thing with the minutes.
Okay,
Nice job.
and the contract is, we all signed the contract? I guess we did, right?
Oh, you can do them all, but that's all,
You have it?
you can do that.
Yeah, this is it. I think.
No,
We're talking-
did we, I think we already already signed
Send
it.
it
right?
over to.
She just gave me a copy of it, so. I'm-
There you go,
Oh,
okay.
Right.
All right, I thought we did. I've kind of lost track of things. Now, where are we? The other business, Curtis Hill, Mylar, signed grave contract, 9:30.
All right, we know that. Somebody wanted to.
Did they hand it the minutes?
Yeah, okay, let's do minutes and get those over with. So we've got 1, 2, 3 meeting minutes to take a look at and approve. The first one was the interviewing, September 18th. Then the meeting is September 18th and the meeting October 2nd. Knew there was something else. Randy, while we look over these minutes, any update, planning board update, anything coming up that we should know about or? You let in. let in on?
Actually, I think, I don't know if it updates the, trailer leasing place next to Jordan's on Route 20, they come in with the site plan application. We're also, next week meeting with the developer. For the property at the corner, right across from CVS, at the corner on the, next to the, hospital.
Yep.
240 multifamily units.
Across which side now?
Not diagonally, the one CVS and then Harrington, and
Yeah.
it's a property right at the corner of 20, in
Okay.
front of Harrington.
In front of him,
That-
that
I
same
think
side.
it's called T-Berry property.
Right.
Yep.
The guy wants to put in, 240 multifamily units.
Yeah.
Apartments.
Yeah,
Multi-family.
so. We're gonna sit down with him next week to, you know,
low income or are they doing a?
No,
This
but
is
they do wanna make it a
affordable workforce housing.
workforce housing, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's trying to be the first one in the door with all the work, Amazon's now open and.
You knew that was gonna happen. Anything happening with, the 241 Sturbridge Road?
No, they still won't share anything with us.
So do they have a tenant or do they have a prospective tenant or?
Basically, they don't
Still,
know that.
they're still on spec.
Are they still just doing site or are they actually building the building? No.
What's that?
Is it still just site work?
Just say work.
Yeah,
Have you been up there?
so far they've done site work, they haven't
Any
pulled the
issues?
building permit.
No?
It's back there nice, you wouldn't even know it's there if you.
When you drive right by it,
It's a
yeah.
very nice site.
I think the latest Google photos have something there with the construction on, so there's new photos up there. Take a look at it.
How did Amazon make out with their generator? Did they replace it? Wasn't there a snafu when they went to start their
Well, that wasn't the
What?
generator, that was the substation going in.
Substation
Yeah,
going
they
in.
blew up the substation.
Oh, jeez.
overloaded?
They went- yeah.
Yeah,
Amazon did or?
The temporary substation thing.
Yeah, they
yeah,
just fried it, right?
when they hooked up the full power, they. Blew the metering switch or
So
something
the
like
meter
that.
station or something.
So basically, I think they bypassed it
Okay.
to get it enough power to the building.
I mean, it's almost like Ghostbusters when he throws a.
You gotta have the
Poor guy.
PPE on when you throw that switch.
Poor
that's for
guy, he's
sure.
been through a lot. He was with the wall and everything. What else could go on with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wanna wear the PPE when you throw that switch. Okay, so we've got pre-draft meetings. Anybody see any issues or concerns?
I move to make, the draft meeting, minute meetings for September 18th, October 2nd, and September 18th. Part of public record for this planning board.
Second that. Good motion, a second. All those in favor for acceptance of the planning board meetings? Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Motion approved.
I thought I was Canadian or something.
Hey,
Yes,
Hey. So that's that, what else is, so. The self-storage, is that still outstanding? Have we closed on the self-storage on, was it 6?
No,
Road
Rob, first phase, but, I don't think he started the second phase yet.
I mean, looking at it from the road, it looks like it's in good shape, but I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, well, that was the first phase, and
Okay,
then
yeah.
you're back and get a second phase, but I think he's just basically pacing himself.
Okay,
To see, how they're renting out.
alright, I was just looking at some of the outstanding, the things we have out there, that was just one that surprised me, I thought that was done and over with.
Yeah, I mean, the part that's finished, you did a good job on. In the back, there's a whole lot of nothing right
Okay,
now, so.
okay. Alright, anybody have any other questions?
Thing on the massage parlor moving into Carpenter Plaza. I just saw the sign. Are they open for business? I haven't seen-
Yeah, they are,
Are they? Is it fully running down there?
but I've heard.
Yeah. Just wondering if they did.
Oh, yes. That's being
The Body Workshop,
monitored.
Right.
I'm sure it's being monitored.
Audited.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I see, it's being monitored.
I have nothing.
Okay. A motion to adjourn? Anything else that we needed to cover before?
Oh, no, that's plenty.
Okay, we've had enough. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Okay,
Thank you guys, thank you for coming in.
What was
Yeah,
that?
okay.